Hello, hello. Hi, King Dragon 32. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, TikTok family. Welcome, YouTube family. We're going to have an interesting topic today. I'm going to go over some things, kind of what we went over there, and then break down. We're going to talk about types of magic and kind of break down some of the latest things we have covered in our community when it comes to magic. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Thai magic and how closely it looks like hoodoo. So when you start looking at folk magic, you start looking at some similarities and how it's practiced. And it's a universal thing. So we are going to dive into types of magic today. Welcome, 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 TikTok family. Welcome, 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 YouTube family. Now, if you're interested in knowing about different types of magic, there are different types of magic, okay? And to know what you're doing, and know what you're looking at when you're reading it. So we're gonna dive in types of magic. Welcome, 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 love pebbles. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Get in my chat right here. My YouTube family is here too. Okay, here we go. We got one person in the YouTube that I see. The first thing that we're going to talk about is high magic. Okay, and or some people call it ceremonial magic. This is what usually the secret societies, the fraternities, sororities, uh, Freemasonry, and you see a lot of that at church as well. This is what you call ceremonial magic. Uh, is again, these are ritualistic practices that involves complex rites, sacred symbols, planetary correspondence. Because believe me, they have that going on in church. You think they don't? There, because that Bible is nothing but when you look at it from a scientific perspective, you start seeing astrology in there. You start seeing different cultures aligning themselves with astrology in the Bible. Okay, it's actually a some book as well. If you actually get to studying the Bible and looking at the esoteric meanings in the Bibles, you start to see astrology in it as well. Okay, so again, invocation, divine intelligence, rooted in ancient Hermeticism, Kabbalah teachings, and Maggie like Hermes. High magic seeks spiritual enlightenment as a material manifestation. Practitioners perform ritual circles, consecrate tools, and align themselves with divine order to invoke angelic planetary forces. Its goal is self mastery and communion with higher self, often known as the holy guardian angel. So you'll see that in covens as well. You will see that sort of like when you start looking at these religions like Ifa, Lukumi, and you start seeing them do all the that's ceremonial magic. That's ceremonial magic. When you start looking at religions and things, they're doing ceremonial magic. Now, whether the Christians want to believe that or not, that's what you're doing when you're doing ceremonies and rituals and things in their communion. High black magic might, when they're doing high magic up in there. Okay, see, they don't understand a Bible, and they did labeled everything miracles. That's why I have to question them. Who, this communion with drinking this blood. What is this? I don't think they understand uh what they're doing and what they're saying here. And the more you look at the way Christianity function, and because they want you to be ignorant, you can't ask question. It kind of looks like Freemasonry a little bit. That's why I say, church, you can't get upset at, you and the Freemasons going back and forth, but you bred the Freemasons. You bred them. So you see them doing this communion. They don't really question these rituals, and they need to be questioning them and seeing where they're coming from. If they understood ceremonial magic. But this will make all also, I'm going to this deeper come next month, because it's going to all make so much sense and what's going on in their ceremonies and rituals, because you got to look at it from it's good to look at it from a spiritual perspective, and something that they don't have in there. They're not even conscious of what they're doing. Because you talking about drinking, taking communion in your mind, you imagine this in a metaphysical sense. And none of my spiritual practice do I act like I'm drinking blood and eating somebody's flesh. So you got to question what is going on in there. What deity are you really following in there? Where did these concepts come from? Why is that concept in there? Because if you're in your personal practice, you know what that means to imagine something like that. If you are a true spiritualist, because we know the power of our mind. Because you're talking about cannibalism. There's no, if you were to picture you doing something like that for some reason spiritually or whatever, going into meditation, we don't imagine something like that because we know to imagine something like that. Hey, Jericho. Hey, baby. Uh, they we know that suggests cannibalism, and that's not what we're trying to manifest. We're not trying to manifest devouring anyone. So I think the Christians really need to think about some of these rituals that they doing. You know, you want to criticize other people, but really think about what you're doing because never in my personal practice would I imagine something like that because looking at the nature of it, I know what's going to manifest out of that. The only thing that's going to manifest out of that is pretending to drink somebody's blood and eat their flesh. The only thing that's going to come out of it is cannibalism. That's all that's going to come out of that. And we already know these colonizers, they got in their history books where they used to like to eat people. Put it together now. Put it together. They used to eat our ancestors. Remind me of that painting and myth about Saturn devouring his son. Yeah. Think about what you're doing now. Who has a history of doing this? They like to say you have a history of doing that. But when we start looking at kind of like their history, we see who is who. Okay, so really think about what you're doing here and put thought into these ceremonies and things because you are performing a magical act. Why would you eat your savior and then drink his blood? Would you do that to your ancestors? It seemed like a sort of a mockery. I just had to sit. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on this one, but it is sort of like a mockery. It looked like a mockery ritual, a defiance against humanity. That's what it looked like to me, you guys. I don't know. That's my take from that. But if you are a spiritually a metaphysician, you're a spiritualist, a witch, or a spiritual practitioner to some degree, they understand what I'm saying. Because there's no way if we picture something like that, it's usually going to be against our enemy. Really think about that. Put some thought in there, especially your hoodoo practitioners, because we have to think about how we want our work to look and the concept of our work. So if you start really looking at that from a magical perspective, you like, what are y'all doing up in here? What is that call for? You too deep, Miss Penny. I'm glad you giving us all the insights. I mean, we really don't think about it. There's a lot of brainwashing going on, and same you got that same kind of vibe that you got going on in Freemasonry. Them folks don't know, even though they got to do blind rituals, don't know where these folks taking them. Uh, they're just focused on this power and trying to get these contacts or whatever connections um, to better their life financially. 'Cause a lot of people go up in that lodge for financial gain as well. Okay. So again, we have to really think about that. Christians really need to think about what they're doing uh, when they're. I can't get past that. That thing I can't get past. Why is communion up in there like that? Why is that up in there like that? You know what? What is this? It look like a mockery of the Savior. So of y'all Savior. So y'all need to sit down and think about that. And they are really very very rigid in there. Most times when you're getting into ceremonial magic, uh, the magic comes together really when the coven or these organizations come together. Which I'm going to go into that. It goes a lot deeper with this ceremonial magic, because now when they get together, they form a hive mind, and I'll go into that deeper probably next month. They form a hive mind. You kind of see that when you're looking at the craft. Remember, they were practicing ceremonial magic together and they can see and feel what each other was doing. That's what happens in ceremonial magic. The hive mind, even with Freemasonry as well. Okay. But I'll get into that much later, and I'll help you make more sense of that. But when they get into ceremonial magic and you got all these thought forms and things together with their intentions together, what do you think what happens there? Okay, that's something for you to think about. And then we have what you call low magic, what they call folk magic. This is the magic that is practiced by the common people. Okay, you'll see that, and you'll see ceremonial magic as well in ancient Egypt. You have these kings, queens, or government officials that practice ceremonial magic. You seeing it through the inauguration. What is inauguration? Ceremonial magic. Okay, when we put somebody in the ground, uh, again, what is it? A funeral, ceremonial magic, magical rites of passage. Okay, we're doing it all the time, uh, unconsciously. Unconsciously, we are doing it. Sometimes we are doing it unconsciously. We're not. Magic never went anywhere. You're just unconscious of that you're doing it. We're calling it something else, but it never went anywhere. Okay, so now we have low magic. Now it just focus on everyday needs, like our ancestors. Uh, it's for simple people. It's direct. Um, It's easy to do. We use candles, we use roots, we use herbs. And again, when we start looking at folk magic, there we run into sympathetic magic, because sympathetic magic and folk magic go hand in hand usually. You're gonna be doing a lot of that is why your nervous system got to be together when you're doing this work. Okay, because it's sympathetic magic. And if your emotions is frozen and you can't tap into it, and move it, help your work move along, you're gonna have issues. That's why in Hoodoo, when we tell you when you get over here, do your work, do your work, and then you run into folk magic, you're gonna run into elemental magic, because you can't have folk magic without elemental magic, because folk magic contains natural magic. Am I making sense to you? Just like I explained, when you look at root work is elemental magic. It is natural magic. And so you'll see a lot of those components in folk magic, and other people call it, the ceremonials, because the thing about ceremony magic and the Freemasons, they try to make folk magic look bad because it's not ceremonial magic, because they want a magic that is more controlled. What else I'm trying to say? More control and has more restriction. You'll see most of them function like a religion in ceremonial magic. They're very rigid, okay? And that'll make sense later as I we move on with this, helping you understand the science of magic. Okay, so they like to look down on folk magic because as there are a lot of people that practice folk magic, they are solitary. They usually practice it alone, and they usually use their, what's around them, natural magic. You won't see too much of elemental magic and ceremonial magic because they think that everything can be done with their mind. They use a lot of mind stuff in there. They're not You're not gonna see you'll see candles, but for the most part, these people, they deal with mind manipulation. Okay, you'll see a lot of, but which your mind is very important in your work. Don't get me wrong, but you'll see a lot of manipulation and dark arts performed in most ceremonial magic. Not all, but most of it, especially in the free, the fraternities and secret societies, and as we see now in our religion, in Christian religion. Okay. Now, that gets me questioning some of these other people, other religions too, again, that deal with ceremony magic. Because you look at it again, you can see, like I say, you can see Ifa in there, you can see Voodoo in there. That is ceremonial magic because they do these rituals together. They calling on these spirits together, so it's ceremonial. And folk magic is slow magic. You're doing all this work by usually solitary. You're gonna be doing it solitary, and you're gonna be not working with people, but you're gonna be working with nature spirits. You're gonna be working with uh elemental spirits, okay? Plant spirits. You're gonna be working with those spirits. And again, they think that's primitive. A lot of them think they're primitive. They've watered down a lot of these occult books uh, so they can type into their magic. But then you have a few of them. What is that book I just had? Because I'm getting ready to post it again. Was it Agrippa? I have to go look at it again because we look at it a lot of occultists. But then they find it too that at some point they have to go back and practice elemental magic because they go back and write books on it, working with these different elemental spirits. Okay, we covered that in there and showing you how to start trying to work with these elemental with invocations and doing conjuring. That's why I prefer you go out in nature and start getting in contact with nature so you can understand how these elementals work. But we provide you with a guidebook to help you start invoking these energies when you go out in nature. Okay. You'll see that too. You know, Obia has heavy trace of elemental magic in it as well as hoodoo. Most of our spiritual practices that they're deeming primitive, because that's where all the magic is coming from in the first place. That they deem as primitive is going to be what they call low magic. But the thing about ceremonial magic, their magic don't work. Their magic is not so much working independently. They magic work when it come when the most powerful when they're together versus when they are separated because they're operating in the hive mind. They magic is the strongest when they get together. Okay, I hope that's making sense. There's a lot of again mental energy that's going on. You go and again read some of the occult books because the first thing they're gonna focus on is your mind. That's why you got a lot of manipulation going on over there, a lot of dark psychologists happening in the Americas because these people are performing mind spirits. I mean, mind magic. And the thing about that, when you got somebody tampering with your mind, they are manipulating your soul, your spirit. Okay. That's what's going on now on a mass scale over there. Did I lose anyone? Does anyone have any question? You too deep, Miss Penny. I'm glad you giving us all the insight. Anybody have any question? And you do low magic all the time because it's a way of life. But for ceremonial magic, uh, It's a transcendence, of their consciousness. Because they think, again, they think they don't need no elemental magic. They think they don't need none of that. Okay, these people think that, they think that, they totally focus on this mind thing. In fact, that's why they call your ancestors primitive with this religion and stuff like that. They thought they was better than them. They think this is the evolving way where religion and magic should be. So again, you have them separating themselves from natural magic, but then you have some of them having to come in contact with this natural magic in order to evolve and raise their consciousness. So you'll see a lot of contradictory going on with many of the occultists when it comes to them comprehending and accessing magic. A lot of, and you can perform ceremonial magic by yourself. Now you do have people like that. They love ceremonial magic. You have some people that have rooms and floors all decorated just for their magic. You have some people just have a room for that. You can practice it alone. You definitely can practice it alone. Okay, but most people that's going to be practicing it alone, um, that I've seen, especially in hoodoo, you'll start seeing folk magic and ceremonial magic come together. That happens as well. You'll see folk magic and ceremonial magic come together, but for the most part, when you're seeing ceremonial magic to give you a great idea about it, you're going to see it in groups. And you're not going to see um, natural elements in it because they're dealing with these intelligences, these spirits. They go directly into some sort of conjuring. They're conjuring spirits. They're not, a lot of them don't work with a lot of elementals. In fact, I've heard them insult elemental spirits. A lot of them have insult them. Okay. When they seen our ancestors working with them, a lot of them insulted the elemental spirits. Okay. So again, we cover elemental magic over there. We covered folk magic, high magic, Solomonic magic. We just cover a variety of it because when you start looking at hoodoo, you will see some of these elements in hoodoo as well. And so, Silent Shadows, hi Tia, hi TikTok family, hi YouTube family. Welcome, 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 welcome to the YouTube live stream. Welcome to the TikTok live stream. You guys give me just one moment. Okay, I'm back. So you will see a little bit of a mesh of that in folk magic because some of our ancestors had rooms where they did nothing but magic in. It was just their own little closet, their little private little thing they did their thing in. A lot of them was doing ceremonial magic, or you know they had ceremonial magic elements in the way they tapped into their magic. You will have some ancestors like that too. I've met people that have whole rooms and all sorts of elemental sigils and stuff, calling on these elements and stuff in their room. You see that in the lodge too. They'll have these different sigils and things like that uh, to call these spirits into the room. So you'll see that in the lodges. That's why you have the white floor, the black and white checkerboard floor. All of this is to attract these entities or energies that they have been working with. That whole room setup is to attract these entities and energies in the room. Okay, you'll have people like that. So it's good to study it so you'll know when you see it. And sometimes it'll be in disguise, it'll be in plain sight, but you can't see it. They did a lot of art like that. You thinking, oh, it's just art, but it's more than that going on. Okay, just like we can disguise our altar and make it look like it's just a table, but we already know that it's an altar. It's some of them that, they start getting into artwork that invokes these energies and spirits. You see that in some of these concerts. They're decorated in such a way, and you looking at them like, what the hell is going on here? They are doing a ceremony. Okay, they have weird and all this stuff up and all that stuff, and they got you thinking it's just art. No, they're doing invocations and they getting ready to do a ceremony. Some of them are doing the ceremonies right there on stage in front of you. We have already experienced that. Some of these people, who was that? He had a concert, and some of the people, something happened where they got sick, and a lot of them were unalived or something at the concert. That boy, and you looking at all the stuff up there, that boy was having a full ceremony calling those spirits in there. And nobody can explain what the hell happened to those people. But he knew what he was doing because that is the price he had to pay to evoke that spirit. Because he did a whole certain. When you see them go out that way like that, believe me, it was somebody had recorded. I think it was on TikTok. They were at a concert, and you can see this dark energy jumping from people to people and the crowd. Yeah, Travis Scott, Astro World. Okay, you can see these energies jumping from people to people. Again, they are doing a full ceremony. They know what they're doing. Okay, this spirit has required them to do that. The spirit has already told them, hey, if you put this and this and this and this and this up there, that's why they're very specific. And we sitting up there looking at that stuff like, why the hell would you put that up there? That has nothing to do with the song. It has nothing to do with the song or any of that. So why is all this crazy stuff up here like that? It's a ceremony. It's an invitation for the spirit. And some of them are giving up some of these people as offerings. And so because you don't understand the occult, you don't understand ceremonial magic, you would think that it's just art. And it's not. Yeah, that happened in Houston. And funny you mentioned that. The city has gotten crazy since then because they release spirits. This is what they're doing. Okay? They're doing it on a mass scale right there in front of you. Right there in front of you. They're doing it on a mass scale. So you have to ask yourself when you start seeing all that crazy stuff and ain't got nothing to do with the song, and it's just it's something, when it's off. So I ain't got to tell you. Okay, you ain't crazy. You know when something off. But some of us, we love people so much we'll look past they raggedy stuff. Okay, we are personality lovers instead of principles. Okay, you got to have some principles about you. Hey, time stamping army. Okay, so you'll see them doing that ceremonial magic right there in your face. And we've seen, I can just go on and on where we have, you know, looked at some concerts and we had looked at them and be like, what the hell going on here? I could go back with that Super Bowl. And then Donald Trump walks up in there. Why is you at that Super Bowl? And now this song, They Night Like Us, ain't sounding like it's for us. It's sounding like it's for you. So you saying you ain't not like us, and now you taking the American people through a whole bunch of hell. That story, that song started switching in my head, especially when he went to that Super Bowl and said his butt there. I said, okay, is the song for us, or is it a chant to strengthen y'all magic uh with the stuff y'all about to do? So you got to think like that with these people because they will try to trick you. They have been harnessing your energy. They do these ceremonies with this voting. You doing ceremony again. You're giving into their magic, pouring into their magic. Okay, they're using your mind. That's why they call government. They're governing your mentality. They governing your thoughts. They're doing these ceremonies right there in front of you, and you are participating in it, giving it your energy. Even when you run down there, because they know what they're gonna do in the first place. They just got you running down there voting and all this kind of stuff. and you still ain't gonna get nobody you want because you ain't got nobody you want right now. That man is a hot mess. Okay, you're not gonna get it. They're performing ceremonial magic on you on a grand scale. Okay, they've learned how to use this magic. The way our great mothers was using it, they were using it to unify the people. They didn't want that. These people want power. They want to control your mind. Okay, so you have them doing ceremonial magic on a grand scale. So know what you're looking at. Uh, look at some of these artists. I know they seem like, oh, they so cool and all that stuff, and some of them are unleashing spirits upon on their fans, and some of their fans, for example, like Beyonce. And I know y'all love her. Y'all love that woman. You do. That it tripped me out when they said they got a church to that woman. They got a Beyonce church. Really got to think of that. You're worshiping a person now, idols. Sit down, think about what you're doing now, and then the way that Beehives people work her fans. You say something about that woman, they act like they turn into Mr. Smith on you. They act crazy as hell. You talk about that woman, okay? And you need to watch what you see what you're doing because these people, again, you think that they're not, look at what they're doing. You even look at some of their videos, and you be like, okay, they singing about something else, and the video is displaying something else. So either that song don't mean that, just like that music video with her and what's that girl named Lady Gaga. They in there poisoning people and everything in the video. So is this what y'all trying to do to us? And we sit up here watching and we think it's just entertainment, but the whole time they're doing a ceremony on you. That's sympathetic magic. That's why you'll see them tell you about something or show you something that happened, just like they showed Donald Trump being president on The Simpsons before he was president. They were already working that magic. They were already calling it to existence, and they'll show you that. What you think our ancestors did when we practice magic? The same thing we do with a vision board. Before we call into existence, we'll have that vision board on there. We'll call on them elements, and then after so long, it manifests. The same thing they're doing to you. They're doing the same thing to you. They're practicing magic on you on a mad scale. Okay, and they're using these celebrities and stuff to do this stuff. A lot of this stuff they're using these. Some of them don't even construct their own videos. They have these other people come in here and construct this stuff. Okay. And some of these artists don't they be looking at it like, what the hell? Why am I doing this? You have some companies that's doing ceremonial magic. What was somebody saying? Was it Bank of America or one of these banks? I heard somebody say that these people was doing ceremonial magic that they didn't want to mess with the bank no more because the bank was doing magic on the people. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, she's not doing anything for you. She's not. But y'all worship these people. This will get you in trouble right here. Because you got you focused on the person when you need to keep your eyes on people. And I told people all the time, and I know you want to follow people and you want them to teach you something. You think you, but I'm telling you, if you're gonna be following the spirit world, you can't be looking at no people. You're gonna be following something you can't see. That's gonna get you tripped up right there. It's gonna trip you out because spirit gonna be telling you the truth, and you gonna see how much, how many people are full of lies when you start following the spirit. Either they don't know or they lying. It's gonna trip you out. That's how you build trust with your spirits. And when you trust them 9 times out of 10, they never been wrong. They never been wrong. People would mindlessly, follow people. I never forget. I was at Kroger one day. These people standing out here giving folks flu shots. Tripped me out. No biohazard can there. No sanitation going on there. They just got needles in their hands, sticking people in the arm. I said, "What the hell is going on here?" So I go in there. They say, "You want a free flu shot?" A shot? I say, "Absolutely not." I said, "This don't even seem right." A week after, I see on the news that these people and people was walking up to them, willingly putting out their arm, letting them people shoot, put a needle in them just because they had a white lab coat on. You gonna let these people put something in your arm? Good night, God in the flesh. Okay, you gonna just let somebody put something in your arm. Okay, and then they found out later that the vaccinations that they were getting for the flu shot was expired. And you just shot these, you done gave people shots and they with this stuff. Okay, some people don't question anything. And I have to tell people, do you actually think that your government, the same people that tried to unalive your ancestors, would do something good for you? You actually think that they really care about you? Look at how they did your ancestors now. Do you actually think that they will give you something that's good for you? I have to sit down and tell people that. Do you actually think that your government care anything about you out of all the treaties and stuff they broke out of all, the indigenous people they have come in contact with all the warmongering they have done? Do you actually believe in your mind that they want something good for you? You sit there and you think about that. And they look at me dumbfounded. I don't believe nothing that they're saying. I'm going by what they did to my ancestors. I don't forget. And these are same people. I have not seen no type of redemption, anything like that. People ain't redeemed themselves for nothing like that, and they want you to trust them. No, I don't trust anything from them. Okay, they don't even care about each other. Why would they care about me? Okay, they don't care. These the same people. They ain't changed. The man is sitting up there showing you right there. And even that is a ceremony because again, they're in contact with these beings, these things that they do in these private organizations, and now he got to sacrifice these people to this thing. That's what's going on there. He's creating a famine for this thing. He's got to lower that vibration there for this thing. He know exactly what he's doing. And the thing that's controlling him, because again, they're in these societies like this, and once they're in this society like this, these things take a hold of them, and this is the price they have to pay. That's why I said these people that be sitting up in these churches and these preachers be Freemasonry, and these people be catching all types of hell in church. You know why? Because he is bringing them spirits in there with him that he has done in these private ceremonies. That's the payment, and he's been taking these oaths. So anybody in contact with these folks, you're gonna be touched by their raggedy stuff. Now I don't know if they're aware of it. They just doing mindless stuff so they can have power and have money. I don't know if they're aware. I don't know if all of them were aware of it because they say some of them just clueless to what they're doing. They just repeating this stuff and doing these ceremonies and all this stuff and don't understand they don't understand, they don't comprehend what they're really doing. Okay, and most of them folks up in there are warlocks. They're here to draw. They're parasitic. They are drawn off the energy of the people, and that's exactly what that man is doing there. He's doing that purposely so these spirits can feed on these people. That's going to lower your frequency, lower the frequency there, bringing those oppressive spirits. That's what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He can fix that. Turn it right around and gave that man in Argentina all that money and put it in your face to let you know he's sacrificing you. He's doing it purposely. He has the money to help the people, but he's not going to do. He's going to willingly put you on the altar and slay you. But see, you don't see it. But it is these things that they've been doing this for a long time to the people. That's why they have it the way they have, because of these agreements they have with these lower dimensional beings. That's what they're calling in those ceremonies. I'm gonna go deeper with this when we go into servitors and egregores. We're gonna go deep into this, give you a better understanding of what you're dealing with, because you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know anything about spiritual side. I have to tell this. I'm talking to the Christian people right now. You don't know what you're dealing with, and you've been fueling something that is nefarious for hundreds of years, planning your demise, coating itself in something good that's raggedy to its core. You just, and you keep doing it. And it's not like you don't know the history of these people, what they did to your ancestors. It's not like you don't know what Christianity has done, to people in here. It's not like you don't know. You know this. And then some of you will unalive somebody in the name of Jesus. I was just listening to a woman the other day. Looking forward to that. Okay, let me see. Somebody said, "Thank you for all this knowledge. So enlightening." Now I was looking at the other day. It came down my timeline. Some had ancestors be dealing with me, because y'all know I don't post on TikTok all the time. I don't make a lot of shorts or reels, but I do. I come here make live streams because I have something to say. Because these folks be trying to drain your energy, got you making want to make reels all day long. You just so parasitic, because you're not finna drain my energy like that. I got to be thinking about my mind and my spirit and keep myself in line with spirit. I don't got time to be sitting up here anytime, be distracted by your shenanigans. Okay, I'm done with that. But anyway, uh, I seen a young lady come down my timeline, and she was talking about how, and I like the way she described it. She said she was her consciousness. She was going to her higher consciousness. She was going into 5D, and her husband was stuck at 3D in the religion. He was taking that Bible literal. She said, even though you know she was there for her husband and all of that, she said, and after a while they started having some financial difficulties or whatever, and he started getting worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point he started beating her, and said she thought he was better than her. Now she thought he was better than him because she made more money. She said she never indicated anything like that. She never did any. She had to get out that marriage because it was destroying her mind and her body. Because he could not. Because when them patriarchs put their hand in that and start changing stuff, what do you look at here? Okay, they start putting their hands in that. That's mental illness, because you ain't that. And then you see the wife being blessed, and she's able to bring in income. You know why? Because it's divine feminine. Women attract abundance and prosperity. And when you're good to a woman and you treat her right, you are actually giving your devotion and commitment to the great spirit, which is divine feminine. So if you treat women raggedy, your life gonna be raggedy. Because if you disrespect women, you are disrespecting God in the flesh. So you don't get that though. And you steady taking this stuff that these I don't even know what to call them. You know, these patriarchs, and put this stuff in this Bible, and put in a counterfeit God in there. The Gnostics talked about that. He said that is not, 'cause when you look at the Gnostics, the more I look at the Gnostics, they look more like they were in contact with the divine feminine, because of some of the things that they were talking about. Now you have these church folks calling them Gnostics. That's them calling them that. I wonder, did them people call themselves that? I don't think them people call themselves that. We just got the conqueror and the colonizers, and this Lord, I don't want to get suspended off the account. These Syria unaliving religious people uh hurting other folks because they don't agree with they concept of God. Okay? And these folks were scared, and it had a lot to do with the divine feminine, because when Saul went to that woman's house, the witch of Endor, to talk to the prophet, that woman was scared. That woman said, "You trying to trick me? You come up in here, you gonna outlaw me, and you gonna come in here and need my help, but you still need the woman help because you can't even talk to your God. You couldn't even talk to your God. You had to go get a witch again. Go to a woman. This is the problem." And then the Freemasons, they didn't want to be around women in the first place. These men are truly warlocks. Again, you looking at that time, they wanted to be focused on their stuff. They didn't want no woman God. So what do you think they did? What do you think they did? They didn't want to bow down to no woman God. They didn't want no woman God. What do you think they did? Who do you think they serving up in there? See, you ain't asked yourself these questions. Okay? But they're doing it right there in front of your face, but you're not putting it together. You don't even know what you're looking at, but when you look at the movie Matrix, that gives you a little bit of comprehension of what's going on there. Okay? And every time you take that communion, again, you're basically doing a blood oath. And then uh you want to talk about us spiritual practitioners. You know, where in the world we're gonna be sitting up doing like that? I don't think we have any rituals like that doing what y'all doing up in there, the communion. Okay, it's patriarchal religion. However, Catholics on a regular Christian won't remember her. Yep, you'll see some of the Catholics in there. They tried to get them on the board with their Jesus things. You got some diehard Catholics in there that do not pray to Jesus. They do not. They just pray to Mary. They pray to the Great Mother. They tried to stamp that out, but you got some, and they've had conflicts in the Catholic Church about that. They do not pray to Jesus. Some people, a lot of them pray with Mary, and they will work with the saints, but they don't look at Jesus the way a lot of the Christians are looking at Jesus. And those are the people that remember. They remember the true spiritual practices of humanity, which was divine feminine. And I said humanity, not America. I know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow when I go into twin flames, because I got to get that twin flames out the way, because our people that got caught up in this new age crap with twin flames, and I'm gonna have to break this down for y'all, and I'll do that tomorrow. Okay, I understand, but we're gonna break that down tomorrow. I'll give you more insight into that, because you need to know about that too. Okay, that even that's a patriarch trick. So I got to get you to look at that. And so again, you're seeing ceremonial magic, and Christian folks talking about they rebuking the devil and the magic. You doing it all the time because you're up in there taking communion. You call us evil and all that stuff because we honor our ancestors. Here you following dead folks in that Bible, and you talking to a dead man. We're not sure if he was real or not, okay, or made up or something. We don't even know. But that man is dead. So if our ancestors are dead, a bunch of them in that church, and Jesus is your biggest one because you talk to him all the time, and he dead. So you don't make any sense. You just need to be quiet, get somewhere and sit down. Okay? You're just doing raggedy stuff. You're thinking raggedy. You're not even thinking. You're not. You know, there is nothing there. You need to sit down and think about that. But you're seeing these women saying that their husband is stuck in this 3D again reality. They stuck there. There's no spiritual essence there at all. There is no type of insight or enlightenment that's going there at all. She said that, and then you had other women on the post that that's my husband, that's my husband. Y'all better get out of there, because it's something about them religions. They like what they call sleeper cells. Because the more you is sin, the more he want to do something crazy to you. He don't want to ascend. He wants to try to stay in that fictitious counterfeit power that the patriarchs again created for them. He can't fathom it. But you were never supposed to be in power in the first place. You were never. This ain't supposed to be you. They know it. They got it in their cult books. They know. They know they supposed to be bound down to a woman. They know that, but they had to turn their back on the divine feminine and defy her totally. Do you understand me? You understand that these men, the level of defiance you have to have in you to annihilate your mother, because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're self-destructing because without her, you would not be. The level of dislike you have to have for women, the level of jealousy you have to have for women. You need to look at some of the things that they just, how they go out their way to do something. You can even see it in that Bible because they specifically want to keep the attention on them. Man, man, man. If that ain't narcissistic, I don't know what is. Even when I see them sit up and talk, and God knows, I love Bobby Hemmett. I love some of the things they say, and some of them have a good point. But at some point, they're going to reach a narcissistic wall because you get up there. You're not supposed to be telling a story of humanity or spirituality because you didn't create it. You're not innately intuitive, and you don't give birth to children. So sit down and be quiet. Stop telling story, and you will see that men seems to be propelled to tell our story. I don't care what nationality they are. They will propel these men in front, and then these men have the audacity to talk about humanity, and they don't give birth to children. Don't you find that odd? And then every time they try to describe the spiritual essence of women, they fall short. You will always fall short because you are not a woman. You don't go through those cyclic cosmic changes like the woman do. You are not the original cosmic being. There's nothing about your body that reflects the universe like the woman does. And they try, I don't mind you talking, but you don't need to be talking about humanity, and you don't need to be talking about the spiritual essence of women. You are not a woman. You cannot fully understand us. Hell, you don't even understand how our body and our minds go through changes. So why would you even go up there and open your mouth and start doing that? A lot of you don't even know how to raise children or run a household. Some of you don't. So you just need to don't tell women's story. I don't see a lot of women sitting up there telling men's story. In fact, if we was to open our mouth and start telling the real story, y'all start hating us for that for no reason. Some of y'all start hating us for no reason. And we be telling the truth sometimes. Most of the time, and y'all hate it. Now we man bashing and da 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 this. That's why you ain't got no man. That's why you gon' it just goes to that. Ask yourself, women, why do some of them get so triggered? Again, these are your forefathers. Like all of us have to do our shadow work. If you got that in you like that, you got some deep shadow work to do. And you need to look at some of the wounds on your paternal father line because that needs to be healed. That shadow work has to be done because the great offense was against the great mother. And women, you think it's not about you. This is all about you. That's why that man is doing what he's doing. It's always been about that. Okay. Nope, not all people are the same. You got some men that's waking up and trying to wake other men up. And the other men don't want to wake up because they love patriarchy. It serves them. So you got some men that know this fact and they cool with it. They tired of this raggedy patriarchy stuff. You got some men that's tired of it. Okay. You even have and people say, well, it doesn't matter if you gay or transsexual. That's why you seeing a lot of gay and transsexuals because again, it, things are trying to balance itself out, and the Y chromosome is dying. Their number, that Y chromosome is getting uh smaller and smaller. Okay, the XX chromosome. I'm not making this stuff up. You guys do your own research. And this is definitely not feminism that I'm preaching. I'm not man bashing. That I'm talking about the nature of things, the balance of things. Okay. So you look at it for yourself. The Ethiopian calendar has us in a different year than Gregorian. You kind of see that too over here in Thailand. Yeah, amen. So amen. Man has had his hands in the civilization for thousands of years, and look at us now. Yep. Okay, he just not gonna. It's gonna be a mama that fix it. Mama gonna have to fix it. That's who always fix it, ain't it? Who always fix it? Mama. Mama always fix it. Mama always tell her kids to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet, and she come in and she fix the whole household and she gets it in order. That's what mama does. Okay? That's where it's all gonna come from. It's gonna come from Big Mama. It's gonna come from Great Mother. It's gonna come from her. Ain't no man gonna save you. If a man could have saved us, don't you think they would have done it by now? This was about his spiritual evolution and ascension when he took over. And he has tried and he just can't do it. He's not capable of that. They even wrote their own occult books and try to water it down and take out the divine feminine and turn it into something ugly and all that stuff. And they still, the highest ascension they can reach is in the 3D. A lot of them, they can't go beyond that. Even when I see them really religious like that, you got some people are religious, they're not spiritual at all. They only can go by that book. They can't see nothing outside that. They have no imagination. Why you think they wrote that book for them? Because that book was for them. It wasn't for women because they stole the knowledge from us and changed it to fit them. So it wasn't for us. He needed to govern himself. He didn't know how to govern himself. We sat there and told him, you no, you can't do that because the way Mother Earth is set up, we are the embodiment of God in the flesh. So no, you can't come in here and rule because with us staying in balance with nature and being the original cosmic guardian of this planet, we have to stay in rule. We explained that to them. Okay? But he said, my name is God. And if you have any God before me, I'm a jealous God. Ain't that what he said? Ain't that what he said? That you can't be God because you're sitting in a universe. You're sitting in a universe. You are in your mother's womb. All of us are. So you cannot be God. That was a demiurge, right? Yep. They're explaining it to you like the demiurge. They had to. If you understand, that's why I say you need to do the ancestry veneration. If you understand all the changes they went through to put themselves, write themselves into things, it's astounding. You're speechless. Okay, it's another thing to thinking about the colonization of your ancestors because of the color of their skin. That's other work that you have to heal around. But as women, we have to heal from the trauma of our great mothers and what happens to them. That's in your DNA as well. And men, I know you don't know it, but you have a lot of that stuff in you, that violent type of aggression towards women because of your forefathers. You got to sit down and wonder why you feel like that about women, why you want to rule over her, why you want to put your hands on her, why you think she your child. Something wrong with you. You need to do some critical thinking, and you don't want to have it no other way. You don't want to have it no other way. Okay, upon the patriarchy, women and children are not safe, not even some of the animals. Y'all, look at you, do the statistical numbers, and you look at the crime rate, who doing what to who. Okay, who doing what to who. Is all men like this? Absolutely not. And I'm very proud of the men who are doing the work and calling out these other men. They are truly growing, shifting, and ascending. And you got these other rascals that don't want to do nothing, honey. They want and when you're looking at something like that too, when you're looking at that man over there doing crazy stuff, okay? Even words are masculine, feminine. Ask anyone who speaks French or Italian. Yeah, even the word masculine is feminine. That's when people come to me and say, "Is divine masculine feminine?" There's no such thing as divine masculine. It's not a such thing. Now there's two different energies, and they have tried to line themselves up with the yin yang energy and saying that they are the light energy and the women the dark energy. Only somebody stealing stuff would do stuff like that. Because our ancient mothers didn't understand like that. The darkness, you can't have light without darkness. Darkness was here first. That was the first things here. You have the darkness, okay. You have the water. Those are your first elements first, and then you have the word. You have the air. Because now God is moving upon the face of the water and saying, "Let there be light." Then sound was born. So you cannot have like, and these are just two different energies. With in fact, with the dark energy, because they try to make it look bad, it's just raw primal energy, and you can do more things with darker energy than you can with light energy. With light energy, you're gonna be you on it's only specific work you're gonna be able to do. Versus dark energy, you can take something from dark energy and create anything out of it, because everything that is created, again, you were born in darkness. When you grow a seed, where you put it in the ground in darkness, and then stuff come out of it. You see plants, you see food, a lot of good stuff come out of it when you plant it in the ground in the dark. Okay. Even our agriculture, the way our agriculture grow, you got a lot of us that plant seed by the moon. Okay. When our ancestors started looking at the days were planned out by the moon, not the sun. That didn't come till later. And to the patriarchs again tried to align themselves up as a cosmic being. So you have them trying to line themselves up like a cosmic being like us. But we were the original cosmic being. You can see echoes of that because they're gonna always put that full moon or the cycles of the moon in their calendar. If they're gonna make you think they following the sun, okay? But they still following that moon cycle. That you wouldn't have no days or any of that if women had not been marking the days of their cycle. Even that is a clue to let you know that God is divine feminine. I mean, these men went so far, they wanted to bleed too, so they come up with circumcision. That's what that circumcision all about. Them trying to cop out women, you even got them making little marks on themselves so they can have this sacred of shedding of blood, because then they're gonna deem it nasty. But if it wasn't for our monthly, a lot of the things of plant vegetation and none of that would be here today. You wouldn't even be here. The same thing they got with that, got you drinking that blood from that Jesus man. Same thing. They mocking the divine feminine. That's why they had to sacrifice. I'm just going on and on with this so you can look at it. Okay, I don't think we look at things. And honey, some of our parents so brainwashing their religion, they didn't have any type of uh spiritual wisdom of knowledge. They ain't sit down long enough to question what people was teaching them, what was passed on to them, all the plant species, and I think most animal names, feminine names in Latin. Women add their menstrual blood to their gardens. Now I know this is true because when my mom, she loved plants. She got that green thumb from my grandmother, and to make her plants greener and make it more healthier. My mom used to uh used to ask for old blood at the blood bank that they didn't need anymore, and she would take the blood and pour it in the plants, and the plants get greener and more healthier. Okay, so yeah, if it wasn't they the one, uh they are the one who cultivated all the herbs and plants and things that you see. Okay, so we're going through big shifts right now, and that's another reason why I'm gonna talk about that twin flame thing. And I'll probably talk about it tomorrow, but we have to talk about it, you guys, because I think it's very dangerous the way they're promoting this twin flame things, and they got people in a psychosis right now. Has a lot of these women in a psychosis. And you, our ancestors did never did say nothing about that in hoodoo. Okay, they never did talk about twin flame. If you wanted some love, they gave you some love work to do, some attraction work, and all that stuff. Ask you, did you have a particular person in mind? Did they like you? Did you like them? Did you want to do something to sweeten that up a little bit? They did stuff like that. They never talked about a twin flame. And so you don't understand that concept. So now, I'm gonna have to break is it's gonna be a lengthy topic. I'm gonna have to break this down and help you understand that so you won't get caught up in the sauce with these new age people and this stuff because they don't know what they're talking about. Okay. Yeah, it's a marketing play. Okay. So I'm gonna break it down for you so you can understand it. Another type of magic that is necessary, and I have people understand this, you have to have and I know you probably don't think that, but divination is a form of magic, prophecy, seership, mediumship. Okay, divination is a part is a form of magic. So you're gonna need a form of divination with any magical practice. See how it just you just build on it, and before you know it, you're you have different elements of magic that you're working with. Okay, so you'll definitely see divination, magic as well in a variety of the magical practices. Okay, this includes the tarot, runes, scrying, pendulums, astrology. Okay, again, you're trying to bridge your conscious mind to understand what's going around you or what is going on within the future. Okay, you're working with your ancestors. You got to have it. You cannot, I don't recommend anybody doing hoodoo or magic without divination because you can do a divination and see if your spell is working okay, okay? Or you can do a divination to make sure this is the right time to do your work. You can do a divination to see if your ancestors giving you permission to do the work. You have to have a divination, a medium, not unless you are just uh you're your psychic abilities are wide open and you can clearly telepathically communicate with spirits, and that usually takes a few years after reading your tarot and your divination. Then it strengthens your psychic abilities and your uh, telepathic communication. Okay, that's usually what happens when you get when you do divination. The more you do it, the better your psychic abilities get. Because I've had times when people tell me something and I ain't picked up no cards and I done gave them a full reading. And by the time, I get to do the reading, the cards have said the same thing I done said. Okay, so I have to stop myself sometimes because if I'm not careful, I'll give a reading before I lay out the cards. So that'll happen sometimes with people. The more you work with your divination, the better you're gonna get. Now we talked about this. Did I talk about this the other day? Who's I talking about this with? I was talking about this with a client. And the thing to understand about these tarot cards, because y'all love getting these tarot readings up here, and I have to warn the tarot readers too. Now, baby, you got to preserve your energy when you're doing these readings and you're reading for these different people because you don't know what spirits they got on them, what kind of blocks they got on them. If you do that too long, you're gonna find yourself exhausted, you're gonna be looking tired and all of that. Okay. And if you're a tarot reader, you got those cards, honey, at some point them cards gonna be telling you to heal. If you're having difficulties with doing a tarot reading on yourself and you say, oh, I can't read myself, that means you have blocks up. You need to do some shadow work. You don't want to see. The tarot telling you what to do is calling you out, but you saying to yourself, that ain't true. It's absolutely true. It happened to me, so I know I'm speaking from experience. That's what happened. Hi, Ray 2934. Every time you say patriarchy, you're talking about the white race. They the one showed us. And then you got these some of my brothers, they don't want to let it go, honey. Just like, the pale face don't want to let go racism. You got some of our brothers that don't want to let go patriarchy, and you're contributing to racism every time you do that. You are uh you are in agreement with them defiling the divine feminine every time you do that. Okay? So when you have these tarot, you reading these tarot, you have to read say this if you haven't already heard them say it. They say, "Oh, I can't read myself, so I like to read other people." That's because you're not ready to look at yourself. That's what you're saying when you say that. And then you pick them tarot cards up, they're again for your spiritual development and growth. And if you're not going to use them that way, you might as well put them down. And it's not you're not going to get far with that. Because when you start to heal, when you use those cards, you become a better reader and you become a healer. Because at some point, you keep doing them tarot cards, you're gonna heal somebody. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I know. Okay, you're gonna heal somebody. You gonna heal, or you gonna heal somebody. This is not just for fun, for play, and look at people's future and see what's going on. No, it's for spiritual development and growth. It starts out that way, yeah. It starts out that way, fun, just entertainment, until it gets real. And if you're not going to be doing it, then your readings are going to get kind of staticky. Because again, this is about energy too. Because if your energy is out of whack, then your readings is going to be out of whack too. Because you don't want to look at your own stuff. So how you gonna look at somebody else's stuff? You don't think that's gonna cause that? Watch them too, because some of them come out with a storyline. Them the ones you really need to stay away from. I don't know a real experienced tarot reader that starts reading tarot with a storyline. Because the first thing we're gonna ask you, what questions do you have? Did you bring your questions here today? Because that's what I want to know. And then you have some people you can't read because their mind is so scattered, they're so blocked, they got so much psychosis stuff going on. You got to tell them to come back and focus on their questions because they everywhere with these questions. They have not sat down and thought about what type of insight they want to take away from this reading. So I got to tell you to come back. You need to take a spiritual bath and really write down what the questions that you want to answer and come back. Because I can't even read you because your mind's so scattered and cloudy. You didn't come here with intention. You have people like that too. I've had to tell people you need to come back and really think about what the question that you want to ask because you don't know. Okay, you had no intentions when you came in here of what you wanted, what kind of answer or guidance you wanted. Okay, so you have to have them come back. You'll have that sometime. Then you have some people you read them and they don't want to hear the truth. I've had that too. And they go out and do the opposite of what you told them. I said, "What the hell you come in here for? And you ain't gonna do it." Okay, but that's your lesson. That's your life. I can't. You got a right to get those lessons. If you want that lesson, you go right ahead. You got every right because it's your life. But the spirit and I already told you to get somewhere and sit down. Okay, you'll have people like that too. Don't get frustrated. And they think my thing is too. You have people to come in and get a reader from you and then lie to you, but then come to you for the truth. Like you can't see that they lying. What the hell? Why do y'all do that? Us readers know when you lying. I mean, why come here and get guidance for the truth and then sit there and lie to the reader? It makes no sense to me. So you have people doing stuff like that. And if you're a new reader, you're gonna be questioning your abilities. Honey, don't question your abilities. Them people ain't ready to get their life together. You did what you're supposed to do. Let them go on with that. And sometimes people can see so far, and this happens in some instances. It's happened to me that I can see future events Or I'll be saying something in the reading, and this person they don't remember this happening, and then later on in retrospect they'll call me and say, Miss Penny, now I get what you were saying. I have forgot such and such and such had happened. You was right. Because I tell people too, if you don't understand what I'm saying now, you'll understand it later. It probably ain't even happened yet. And in hindsight, people say, you know what? It didn't make sense what you were saying then, but what everything you said in the reading just happened. Sometimes you'll get that. It won't make sense at all. Okay. I even get readings like that from my ancestors. I be like, this don't make no sense. Oh, what y'all trying to tell me? And then before you know it, these will be a future events that unfold. Okay. So again, vet your tarot reader properly. Make sure that there are healers. Most tarot readers, they're not going to be up here hours and hours and hours like that reading for. They're just not going to expose their energy like that. A lot of spirits is not going to be on social media like that. We just don't, because if you knew how precious your energy is and how much care you need to stay in alignment and attuned, you wouldn't be so, you wouldn't be so happy to share your energy like that and release it to other people. Okay, you just wouldn't do it. Okay, especially if uh you value your energy and you know what it is when you come here and you start doing stuff like that. Is either you're being guided by your spirit guides to do some type of charity or something like that, and then you pull back and you stop. That's usually how that's going to work. Okay, no, because we know how energy works, so we're very careful at how we are sharing our energy and what energy we want to tap into. And again, when you go into this, again, you're gonna find yourself into shadow work magic. What is that? Again, this is transformation magic. Okay, this again, looking at the wounded parts of yourself, looking at the blind spots in yourself, looking at your ego, your traumas, and all that. Because all of it's gonna go hand in hand, but they're separating it. But when you start picking it up, you see that it's a little bit of everything in it. Okay, this is a lot of introspection work, release, rebirth, self integration, empowerment. That's what it's like, and that's where the magic is laying at when you start doing the shadow work, when you start doing the healing work. That's where all the gifts, all the talents, the intuition begins to heighten. You begin to trust yourself. Blocks start to move out. You get better at doing your magic. That's why shadow work is so important. And again, we have what you call hoodoo, which is ancestral magic. But you're going to see that among all indigenous cultures, and they sometimes call it folk magic. Okay, it gets thrown in there with folk magic. But this is about too practicing the folk magic of your ancestors. Because when you go into ancestral magic, it's going to open you up to what folk magic, because those are the things that they practice. Okay, and it's going to be linked with a lot of elemental magic, because our ancestors was, again, they had the special relationship with nature. I already broke that down for you to help you understand that. Okay, and maybe we're going to, I'm not going to go into ancestral magic so much now. uh I will next month. I'll go into it because there is some really juicy stuff surrounding ancestral magic, that magic that's already in us when it comes to bloodline magic, ancestral magic. It really gets interesting when we get to talking about hoodoo and our ancestral magic. Now, one of the things that we covered over there, and I don't know if you guys missed that in the community, you get a chance to hear it, but you've already got the lecture. But I'm going to break it down some more over here because that's a popular thing in hoodoo now. A lot of people want to practice candle magic. They love candle magic. They want to practice candle magic. We're drawn to it. We see it. We see a lot of people up here, and they show their candle magic. Well, candle magic is working with fire magic. It's the most oldest and accessible form of spell work, and it's practiced across cultures. A lot of people practice. It's very, very popular. Okay, it's rooted, but you don't understand it. It's rooted in the ancient understanding of fire. You're working with fire spirits. That's what's going on here. Okay, the flame, the color, the intention. Again, it is bridging a gap between the divine spirit and earth. Okay, so you're dealing with fire magic. You're dealing with fire spirits. Again, natural magic when you are dealing with candle magic. That's the most important thing for you to understand. And like I said, when you pick up things in hoodoo, everything is spirit. So when you put that fire, again, light that fire on that candle, and again, you're working with the spirit. Okay, you're working with the spirit of fire. And this fire has been serving humanity for a very long time. Okay, so that's what you're coming in contact with when you are again working with fire. Fire in its spiritual essence represents divine will transformation. It takes what is dense and elevates it into light smoke, carrying it upward, symbolically returning our prayers and intentions to source, the ancestors, or whichever spiritual current we are working with. So again, when you set the intentions and you're putting that your petition up under that candle, or you got even got people that carve sigils, because we covered that in our wonderful resource over there. I love that book that we have over there, the material, because not only is it telling you, it covers candle magic from top to bottom. And so it's telling you that you can carve your intentions and letters into candles. Now, some of our ancestors will carve sigils into the candles, or they will carve a word into the candle like prosperity, luck, love, setting the intentions in the candle as it burns. Again, because the fire is carrying the intentions into the spiritual realm. That's why it's a good idea to sit there and watch your candle burn if you can, because you're working with spirits. I know you just think you like that candle, but I like to put it in a context to help you understand so you can approach your work with more sacredness so you'll understand the elements that you're working with. Does that make sense? Because people just sit up here lighting stuff and all that stuff, and you don't understand how these elements are helping you in your magic, the dirt, the herbs, all of that. And so I have to take you back and show you that you are working with spirits. My candle has soup from the top to bottom. If it has soup from top to bottom, you need to do that over. Do it over, baby. And then too, how many herbs and stuff that you put in it? Because sometimes we be putting too many herbs in there, sacrificing all those little beautiful herbal spirits. You don't need that much. They pack a punch by themselves. A little bit goes a long way. But sometimes we're putting too much herbs in there. So make sure how much oil did you put in there, how many herbs you put in there, and you're probably going to have to do it over, because when you're putting too much herbs and oils in there, it's going to be hard to read your candle, do a divination on your candle to see if the work is going the way you want to. So that's gonna alter your results. But if it does, and you didn't put too much oil in there, you didn't put too many herbs in there, you're probably gonna have to do that over. And I would start with a cleansing first before I do it again. I'll probably do a cleansing on myself and then do it again. That's what I would do. But you know, do what you want. But that was the safest way I would do it. The spirit of fire acts as a conduit for communication. It is the only element that is visible, consumes offerings, transmuting them into smoke, heat, and energy. When you light a candle, the flame becomes a messenger, delivering your petitions to the unseen realms. This is why, in many cultures, from the ancient Egypt to West Africa and the indigenous America, sacred fires are tended during prayer and ritual, because a fire speaks to spirit in a language older than words. Now during this Samhain, or Day of the Dead, All Souls Day, you're gonna see a lot of people, especially in the Americas, they're gonna be doing these fire rituals to the ancestors. They're going to be working with our ancestors. They're going to be calling on our ancestors, and they're going to have a lot of these barns. You're going to see them throughout. You're definitely going to see them in Mexico. You can see some of them in South America, in Louisiana too. They're going to be doing these fire rituals in honor of their ancestors. You're welcome, Nandy 1000. Okay. Funny how you're confirming how burning my candles and I was never taught this, just naturally called to do it. Yeah. Okay. Because you got to remember, fire is our oldest ancestors as well. They have these fire spirits have a relationship with our ancestors. They kept them warm. Okay. Stop looking at them like they're separate from you. You know, that's why I like to come here and talk about elemental spirits so you to understand that, baby, you got lots of help in your work. You're picking up spirits every time you're picking up herbs, working with fire, working with water. These are all spirits. That's why you're talking to it and you're setting your intentions. All you got to do is tell it your intentions, be in alignment with the work, and you can get it going. Okay. That's why people are telling you to spend more time in nature. The movement of the flame reflects that communication. A dancing flame shows active dialogue. So if you see that flame just dancing like that, pay attention to that because, again, spirit is coming through. A still steady flame signifies harmony and clear connection. So you got a steady flame, it's clear, is going, it's still, again, the work is going on. Okay. Through this exchange, the spirit of fire becomes the living bridge, transforming inner will into the outer manifestation. Isn't that something? Because you can't pick fire up. It's not a solid. You can't pick fire up. You can't hold it or anything, but you can see it. Isn't that something? I think there's something. You can see it, you can feel it, but you can't pick it up and hold it or anything. Like, you can't do that. You can't touch it in the way. It's hot. Okay, so it's something spiritual going on. It is a representation of spirit as well. When you look at fire, so have you ever just looked at fire and be like, "Wow, that's crazy"? Like, and that same thing with air. Like, you need it. You got to breathe it, but you can feel it, but you can't hold it. You can't really, touch it in a sense, but you need it. That's supernatural in itself. Okay, I don't think we sit down and really think about these elements and how, because, again, you're so passive about it, and the impact they have on you is so subtle but very profound, because if you take one of these elements away from you, you couldn't live. You took air, so you can't breathe, you know you can't live. Okay. And then a lot of us is made of 80% water. Okay. Earth, water, fire, each element builds upon itself if you think about it in that order. Yeah. Okay. And they say the earth contains all of that in its core. It has the fire, the water, all in its core when you look at earth. Okay. So, again, these are spirits that you're dealing with, and when you're conjuring and you're talking over your work, you're telling this spirit what you want. You got all these elements. You're speaking this in existence. So you got all these little spirits that are listening to you and helping you in the work. Then you have the power of your ancestors, and if you're calling on the saint, you got the saint helping you too. So you got a lot of spiritual tools that you're working with when you're working magic. You just don't know it, and I don't think a lot of people haven't broken it down this way. They come here and they show you that, not showing you the science of the elements and how it's working. Because all of these are spirits. Okay, we're going to go deeper into that next month because we're going into jinns and talking about fire spirits and people relationship with some of these fire spirits. So we're definitely going to go into that a lot more next month. Okay. The origin. Now we're going to talk about Thai, as I've told you about fire spirits, and I've told you how when you're working with these fire spirits, they are helping you in your work. Okay? And I'm going to end on this note. The spirit of fire merges with the intention and begins to reshape reality on a subtle planes. It's when you get to talking, you get to conjuring, and you are intent and earnest in your conjuring, in your petition. This is why focus, emotions are essential. So again, I wouldn't even go to start doing any work. If you know somebody that made you upset, you're tired that day or whatever, don't do the magic because it has to be in alignment with the work. Their emotions and all that has to be in alignment with that. And if you have poor emotional regulation or you can't focus, uh, your mind is scattered, then your magic ain't gonna work. You got to be able to go in there. And some of us, we can't even sit down and meditate for 20 minutes. So and then you think your spell gonna turn out right. We have no mind discipline. We let our thoughts choose us instead of choose our thoughts. You have the attention span, you know, of a toddler, but you want to sit up and do magic, and then when it don't turn out right, you wonder what's wrong because you don't even know how to focus on something for 5 or 10 minutes. So how you think your magic gonna turn out? Very high energy. That's the sign because you're gonna be dealing with your mind. I have to go back to you. You think you're not going to have to participate in that? You think magic is not work? I don't know a person that is doing magic that is not putting in work. Now they can be telling you that he just okay, all right. Do that method and see where it gets you. It takes some consistency. It takes some persistent. You cannot be a wimp and practice magic. You have to be tenacious about it and not easy to give up because them spirits is watching you. Okay, I can't say that enough. I cannot say that your ancestors watching you. So you're gonna have to be tenacious. Our thoughts choose us instead of choosing our thoughts. So profound. That's what happens. You'll give into it and then start feeding in your emotions instead of saying, "Wait a minute, why am I even thinking this? This is not even going on. I'm not gonna feed into this. I'm gonna do something else and get my mind on something else." We'll feed, and people do it all the time on this TikTok thing, on this social media. They say something that emotionally trigger somebody, and then some of these folks go crazy on the social media thing, especially when y'all love these folks and these folks call some of these folks out because you're lovers of people and not the spirit, and you following these people ain't following your ancestors. Okay, need to stop. I can't tell you enough because you can't have no relationship with spirit if you got a lot of faith in people like this. You trying to get to know a spirit, but you following people. How make it make sense to me? Make it make sense to me. Especially when that practitioner is not teaching you to follow your ancestors. Everything they're doing is to get you to rely and depend on them to keep you coming back to them. So yeah, they're gonna teach you a lot of spells and all that stuff. They're not gonna give you no good foundation because they want you coming back. Okay, yep. The spirits and ancestors are strict. They don't play. Okay, that's what following to this said. You're gonna be following the spirit. Now, do it make sense to you? That because I'm telling you, when you follow the ancestors, they're gonna be dropping knowledge on you that's gonna be very different from what people saying, and then you're gonna be finding out on down the road that the ancestors was right, and these people, I don't know what they talking about. Okay, that's why you need to be following your ancestors. That's why we're practicing mediumship. We're practicing spiritual communication. We're doing the shadow work to clear out all that stuff to make sure our line of communications is clear. Not gonna get it? Question. Not everyone ancestors practice. How would we know if our ancestors did or didn't? This become a popular question. Now you do have some of our ancestors. That's why I do not put family members on the altars because some of them believe that stuff. They was diehard Christians. I do not work with family members like that. I work with the most elevated ancestors. I only work with elevated ancestors, the ones that were shamans, that were connected to the land, uh, the ones that have a again galactic ancestors, affinity ancestors. And if I work with family members, I'm going to be very intentional about what family member I work with, and I'm going to be asking my elevated ancestors on guidance on that. We get too eager that I know what I just broke that down. You probably want to go watch my YouTube video because I did a live stream on that, and I talked about different types of ancestors. They got you thinking it's just family members. No. Okay. And do have some ancestors that passed over with that colonized mind like that. They really believe all that stuff. They don't want you doing it. That's why you need to call on your most elevated ancestors. And usually these are the ancestors that had a connection with the elements, with nature, and everything around them. They had a nature based practice before religion even came into play. Those are the ancestors I'm calling on. I'm not calling on the ones that was traumatized and colonized. And if I do call on somebody, it's gonna be like Malcolm X, Tupac Shakur, a revolutionary, not anyone who was caught up uh and their mind was still sick. Okay, I've been calling on them for 2 weeks. Are you consistent? My thing is, are you consistent? How consistent are you? Are you pouring libations? How long are you sitting at that altar? Are you just sitting there for 10 minutes and go on? Are you sitting there up to 20 minutes? Are you writing? Are you journaling? What type of divination are you doing? All this stuff make a difference. Only the highest and the most Bolivian. That's right. Only the highest and most Bolivian. Now and I'm telling you this, you can't do nothing raggedy with these ancestors. Some of these ancestors are saints. Many of them are saints, and and many of them function as angels. You can't do raggedy stuff with these ancestors. Now, with your family members, you probably can do some raggedy with a lot of them, because a lot of them was in their life. Some of them was in their life. Now, you got an ancestor, that's something that you want to do a particular work with them, you can do that. But with the elevated, I don't even think your most elevated ancestors going to agree with that. But again, the most elevated ancestors, uh, again, they're not gonna let you be doing no raggedy stuff, and you're gonna have to be justified in what you're doing. You're gonna have some order and discipline over there with them. You may not have none of your dysfunctional family, but when you get with these ancestors, you're gonna have some order. So what? So someone a plague. I don't understand that pretty, pretty brown skin. I'm not because that was only that's like a fragment of something you were trying to state. Okay, so you want to work with your most elevated ancestors. Okay, that's why we call them most elevated ancestors in Hoodoo. We don't just say we work with ancestors. No, we work with our most uh elevated beloved ancestors. That's who we work with. You'll hear people say, I work better with my unknown ancestors than my known ancestors. I wonder why. Because they wasn't touched by colonization, their mind wasn't sick. They didn't have any mental illness dealing with Jim Crow slavery and chattel slavery. So of course they love you without unconditionally. Versus your family members, colonization taught us how to be hateful towards each other and all that stuff. We bought that stuff in our family. The house slave role in the field house slave role. We bought some of that in there. Don't like each other because of colorism. We got all that stuff going on in some of that stuff, okay? Oh, laugh aloud. I thought you were thinking deep. My bad. What does that statement mean? Yes, some just want to feed off your energy. Yeah. Okay, so you got some ancestors, they don't want good for you. All your family don't like you. Do all everybody in your family like you? Let's be realistic. Did they show up for you? A lot of your family members didn't show up for you when they was living. So why would you think they're going to show up for you because they crossed over? They the same people. They ain't changed. The only thing you can do is pray for them and pray that the most elevated ancestors guide them to light into their soul evolution. That's the only thing you can do for them. The elevated ancestors can help you do more with that, giving that to them, than you trying to fix that. Because they have the power to fix that because they're going to help you work on the bloodline. Only they have the power. You can't do it by yourself. Okay? You can't do it by yourself. So somebody said there's somebody down here. Okay? So a lot of them didn't like you. And you'll see a lot uh they get more help from their unknown ancestors than their known ancestors. A lot of the known ancestors, you got to remember what happened to them. Is it they fault? Absolutely not. But we have to understand too what intergenerational trauma is and how it plays out in the family. You don't understand that. That's why I got to take you over there when you get over there with me and show you the sickness that was passed on to you. Because some of us sick and we don't even realize it. We love excitement. We love following people. We're addicted to drama. You know, we self-destructive and we don't even know it. You know, we're aggressive, violent. I know it ain't your fault. You got survival. You got a lot of that survival stuff got passed on to you. And these folks and kept you in survival mode. You ain't been able to heal your nervous system properly. Because every time you turn around, they unaliving somebody to look like you. They doing some shenanigans stuff where you can't even, get yourself calm. You anxious. You don't know what's gonna happen from one minute to the next. So yeah, your nervous system be shot to hell. And so I have to show you that and start helping you work on that. My grandma loved me on earth. But when I called her one time, she was like, she'll leave me alone. It's too early. That's why I tell you don't put them on the altar. They've been working all their life. They probably passed away working. Why you gonna put them? And you didn't even ask for their permission to do the work. Ask for their permission yet first before you trying to get them to work. Let them rest. Them folks rest all their life. I mean, them people worked all their life. Call on your most elevated ancestors. Those are the one waiting on you. Question: do some who actually cause curses not want you to heal and cause negative things to you? Again, it depends on that family member. If you didn't get along with that family member when they was alive, we're talking because what they try to portray on social media that you supposed to call on your grandma that just died, your uncle you ain't supposed to be calling on them people. And if they didn't like you, why in the world would you think they would like you because they passed over? This is say they got the same mind. Them folks ain't been crossed over long enough to do any elevation or soul work. They work continue when they go on. They still got to do a past review of the life they just left. So they get the lesson out of it. So why would you want to call them up there? They can be toxic on earth, but can ascend. They can, but again, they have to be over there a long time to continue their ascension work. Happen the next year and you want to call them and you want them to do some work. That's not realistic. Really think about what you're doing. Think about it. They the same people. If they passed over raggedy, they're gonna be raggedy when you call them back. Especially if they ain't been passed away too long. It takes a while for them. They still get lessons. You have to understand this. And I don't appreciate people coming here and telling you to do ancestors work or call on ancestors and not giving you a greater context on the ancestors that you need to be calling. And then they'll tell you that don't look in the book. Well, hell, you need to be looking in the book if they're not going to tell you right. You need to be studying because a lot of these people that's telling you they ain't studied, they have not studied. They do not know what they're talking about. In fact, these type of people run from books because they want to learn things through YouTube and all this and through people. And this is what you don't need to do because once you start reading a book and getting in your mind, the ancestors start talking to you. You start awakening them. But as long as you looking at a person, you keep on with that. You see that's where it's gonna get you. Okay. What about the ones you didn't know of? Where I just talked about that. I just talked about that fall into the this. I just said that. You not hear me when I mention unknown ancestors? That people say they get better results with them. You're gonna be talking. You're gonna be calling on your most beloved, elevated ancestors. You didn't know them. Them the ones you're gonna be calling on. Is the ones that you did not know. Them the ones that's going to be working for you, not the ones you know. Some of our mamas and daddies didn't do the right thing by us when they was alive. Why the hell you think they're gonna do something right by you when they pass away? Let's be realistic now. It doesn't change. These folks do not change. A lot of them don't want you doing no hoodoo. They're gonna sabotage that for you. Some of them actually believe that their spiritual practice of their ancestors was evil. Some of them, they really do. They love white Jesus. They love white Jesus, and you ain't gonna take that away from them either. Okay, that's just the truth. The same thing with that house Negro. That house Negro, he love his master. And you ain't gonna do nothing to mess that up. You ain't gonna mess it up for nobody else. You ain't gonna start that stuff and all that stuff and mess up this good thing with master. We eating good in this house and everything. And you talking about doing something to master? Oh no, we gonna tell it on you. Same thing. You had ancestors like that. And some of them they had to unalive because they couldn't get no liberation while these people was protecting the masters. You know what they call them now? They call them coons or whatever. Now you got something like that now. I look at Amanda Seals when she was going up against these people critiquing African Americans. They was telling us we need to do better. We need to pull ourselves up that by the bootstrap. We talking about the same oppressor. Is you crazy? They just got through destroying your whole land. Now you want to take on our identity and call yourself African American. You want to try to absorb yourself into us, and you think you're conservative, like they gonna treat you better. Them people was unaliving people that was dressed head to toe, was looking good and everything. They didn't care how you look. You still had that brown skin. They was gonna get rid of you. You understand me? You talk crazy. You got them people. And Amanda Seal had to ask them, "Are you from America?" Now with hush, shut up, get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. I love it because you seen the ancestors working through her because some people didn't know what they was talking about. Just a whole bunch of buffoonery. The same thing that uh, the house slave would do to protect the master. They doing the same thing and they don't even realize it. They think they're being conservative. And they looking upside your head, getting ready to string you up from a tree next while you sitting up there trying to protect them and make it look like we don't know. We know exactly what we're talking about. And I don't even know why you open your mouth to say that because they didn't sit up there and destroyed your whole country. You done ran your butt over here and telling us how grateful we should be to raggedy people because they let you up in here. Okay? And she had to let them know. And it tripped me out when none of them originally had generations of people in America. Some of them were immigrants moving to America, coming from Africa. It ain't first time they did it. Now they got them a house slave that's gonna protect them, and they go under the title of conservative. They ain't fooling me because you're boule or something. So how would we put them on the altar, or is that necessary? You wouldn't put them on. Our ancestors don't belong on your altar. That's the problem right there. Everybody telling you that all of them belong on your altar. I even heard a man, a practitioner, say, "Put regular family members on you too. If your grandma was dysfunctional, you still no, you don't put them on there. You're gonna be cloudy. Your work ain't gonna go right. You're gonna be confused. Put them up there if you want to. Put them up there. You're gonna be. I've seen it too many times. You're gonna be cloudy. You're gonna wonder what's going on. You're gonna try to do work. It ain't gonna turn out right. It's so much. You watch and see. Do it. I want you to do the difference. Don't nothing need to be up there but a glass of waters and some flowers and your Bible. okay, and you call on them elevated ancestors, they'll start telling you how they want that altar to look and what offering. And don't put no cooked food on there when you first. If you're gonna recalibrate it, just start putting fruits and stuff up there. Little simple stuff, fruits, vegetables, especially that's indigenous in America. Start putting things like that up there. But if you start doing, you're gonna be confused. That you get a lot of people in here, they doing ancestral veneration, but when they come to me, they confused. You know why? Because they didn't put their mama, they just people up there. They got wounds that were addicts, alcoholics, thieves, molesters, pedophiles. You put the people up there, abusers. You gonna put them up there, and you think they're gonna change? No, you're gonna be confused and cloudy, and you're gonna have again because we dealing with your mind and how spirits speak to you through your mind. So if they mind was cloudy and all messed up and dysfunctional, and you done put them up there and they communicate with you, how you think their communication with them gonna be? I often dream about dead relatives and people that I have never seen before. I feel that I know them. Might be ancestors. That happens. I dream about ancestors coming to me I didn't even know. So that happens. Does that mean I called on them and didn't know it? Sometimes they'll just come forward if it's in your DNA. If you've been thinking about them, again, because it's all in your mind. They're a part of you. So if you've been thinking about them, you did a libation with them or whatever, that could spark some ancestral dream, or maybe they're trying to tell you something and you're not aware of it. You're not opening yourself up to the messages. My grandfather was a great man and passed as a Christian. However, he comes to my dreams many times. He told me things that later came to pass. I'm kind of shocked considering how strong his faith was. Again, he probably on the other side and he see it for what it is now. And so you will have someone that do come through like that. But he's definitely come to me and given me clarity. He did mention that his grandfather was a shaman. See there? So now I've already talked about that. When you get into hoodoo, where did we see? I did do a review on that. That's probably a lecture that y'all gonna be getting over there in the community. But when you look at hoodoo again, because it's indigenous, it come from our ancestors. When we're doing elemental magic and we're working with dirts and stuff, that's shamanic. That's shaman work. And you got to remember, all these spiritual practices stem from shamanism. If you start truly working with your ancestors and doing root work, it's gonna start feeling like shamanism. And shamanism it has it's full of ancestral spirits in it. It's full of plant spirits, it's full of ancestral spirits, it's full of animal spirits. Again, fall into this, you need to ask for a sign. Ask for a sign, or do a divination with your ancestors. You need to ask for a sign. Okay? Ask them to give you a sign. Ask your most elevated ancestors to give you a sign. They with you. They'll give you a sign. When you see it, that's them. That's the end of it. That's don't you don't have to complicate it. It is only humans that complicate ancestral veneration. We the only one to do that. Especially people look like me. They put so much stuff in your mind, it's hard for you to comprehend it, especially when you had a lot of religion in there. But it's just that simple. They'll show you a sign. When you see it, that's what it is. Just ask for a sign, just that simple. It ain't. I have the hardest time trying to get people. It trips me out. It's really mind-boggling. That's want to do hoodoo, but they don't want no ancestor altar. Trip me out. They want to do hoodoo, but they don't want no ancestor altar. Mm-mm. They don't want that. You can't have that. You can have ancestral veneration And you don't have to have hoodoo. You can just do ancestor veneration. But you absolutely not cannot have hoodoo without the ancestors. It don't work like that. You have to have ancestral veneration with hoodoo. They the one who created it. You wouldn't have it if it weren't for them. So how you gonna do ancestral veneration? I mean, how you gonna do hoodoo? It don't make no sense. But I have the hardest time with that. People have the hardest time with that. They don't want to do ancestor veneration. And please keep your head covered. If you're gonna be at that altar, you need to have your head covered. You don't have it covered no other time while you're doing divination and ancestral work. You need to have that head covered. Especially if you're just starting out doing hoodoo, because again, you're trying to control your thoughts and keep your aura protected at all times. Okay, so you're gonna need to keep that head covered. Put this right here. You're gonna need to keep that head covered. Okay, you gotta protect your aura. So if you're doing any kind of work like that, keep your head covered. You are so right, because are taught that it is evil and you're dealing with demons. I have the heart attack. They excited about hoodoo. They want to do all the pretty stuff. And then I have to break it down to them. Hoodoo is not magic. I have to start showing you the history of hoodoo, because I have to let you know that hoodoo was saving your ancestors' life. Are you crazy? It's not just magic. These people are. Let me take you over here so you can look at their story. Because these people are up here showing you this stuff like it's just magic. This hoodoo's healing their whole life. Are you crazy? It ain't just about no magic. They were healing. This was a part of their everyday life. So to minimize it to just magic, I think it's a disrespect to them. And if you use hoodoo the right, it'll save your life too. If you know what you're doing. What are your thoughts on doing gateways with queens of four? Just curious. I like the work that she do. She's just opening you up to your divine feminine, and she's opening you up to those more ancient archetypes of the Netaru. And she works closer with the Netaru, with those nature spirits. She is a healer. Okay, but that's her walk. You got some people that get over there and they work with Kemetic or the Netaru deities. Same thing, because we it's the same science. It still come from our ancestors. And you will hear some people say that some of these Netaru or the Egyptian gods or goddesses start coming to them on their journey. It all depends when you get into hoodoo and start venerating your ancestors. I can't tell you where they're going to lead you. It's no telling. I can't tell you how your practice gonna grow, how your ancestors want your practice to grow. They might want you working with the Netaru. They might want you working with the Orisha. They might want you working with the Lords. They might want you working with the saints. They might want you working with archangels. I don't know. You don't know. You don't know until you start putting in the work and following the ancestors and stop following people and being mesmerized with what they doing, because what they doing, that's probably not what your ancestors want for you. You'll know it if you're doing ancestor veneration. And some of us don't like to take a no. You have to be willing. When the ancestors tell you something ain't right for you, you're gonna have to be willing, like, okay, so what should I do? If I can't do that, what can y'all advise me what to do? Because some of you don't want no guidance. Some of us like regular stuff. We love when these practitioners talking about doing spells and putting people in pots and putting curses on people. Some of y'all love that. You can't say you don't, because I'm looking at the stuff, you're just loving it. You love spiritual violence. You get a lot of people, young people in here that love spiritual violence. I'm perplexed by that. I'm very perplexed by the many of people that want to use magic in a nefarious way instead of use it at your oppressor. Seem like y'all should be doing something to that man instead of going back and forth with each other. Seem like you would be getting together, putting that man in some type of pot or doing something with that man, but no, 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 you're not doing that. You see how distracted you are? See how distracted you are? I got seen two young ladies here on TikTok. Both of them got the same kind of vibe about them. But here they is going back and forth with each other and who doing what to who. Then you got some of the ATRs up here scamming the people and putting them in initiation. No, they ain't supposed to be initiated, and got them going over there with that. See how divided we is? I'm perplexed. That's why uh okay. You see on these people up here that a lot of fake people. I separate my. Nah, I don't even want to be looking at it most of the time. Okay. Yeah, y'all want to love that stuff. You love raggedy stuff. That it made you dysfunctional because these people like raggedy stuff. Now you like raggedy stuff. The more raggedy it is, the more you love it. Something wrong with you. You don't realize it. Every time something happen on here, the Nicki Minaj or whatever, y'all got to post that stuff, talk about that stuff. These people ain't nothing but distractions. And it don't amount to a hill of beans. Considered to what you going on with now. They need to be talking about that man, what's going on now, and stop talking about stuff that don't make no difference. And here you is in a crisis, and you focus on somebody else's life. Really? It trips me out. I'm very perplexed by that. I'm very taken back by that. But you know how to do this, and you better than this witch, and you better than this practitioner. You can do it. If you do it, then show us. Do something with that man over there. Now is it you want to show us how good you is? Practice on him. Do that. If you're that good, practice on him. Not on your sister or your brother, but on him. Do something. If you say you're that powerful, you that good, and I'll use your telekinetic, telepathic, whatever powers you got on that damn man. You understand me? Don't make no sense. Y'all don't think of it because you're distracted. This is exactly how these spirits work in your mind. You never ask for a minute. Why am I doing this when this is the damn problem? This is the bigger problem. This ain't got nothing to do. This all this stem from this raggedy stuff this man got going on. But you don't do that. I'm very perplexed by y'all. I am. I had to get out of America because I didn't understand it. That thing, that spirit that's over that country like that, that's really messing up your mind, but you don't see it though. It trips me out when I talk to people on the phone from America, some business people, and they would say, I was like, I'm not there, so I need to take care of this on the phone. They was like, oh, where are you? And I say, I'm out of the country. I'm in Thailand. Oh, you be careful over there. What the hell you talking about? No, you be careful over there. Do you not see that person is doing that? That's why the hell I'm away from there. They trip me out. Oh, be safe. Most of them be pale face people. I know they pale face. Why did you leave? Why the hell you ain't leaving? Why the hell would I stay over there? What the hell wrong with you? Why did you leave? What do you mean why did I left? But you're seeing it now. Okay. They trip me out when they think, and when I finally got a sister on the phone, boy, I was so glad I got a sister on the phone to take care of my business. And honey, I told her, I said, them rascals uh wasn't even advising me right. I said, I think they was supporting that man over there because they sound like they might be supporting that man. The little baby started laughing when I'm on the phone. I said, I'm so glad that I got you. I said, they ain't nothing but the ancestors because every time I deal with them pale face people, they would give me the runaround. As soon as I got me a sister, she went above and beyond to take care of me. I said, girl, they need to keep you on her because them other people on her is raggedy. They don't know what they doing. Or they was doing that on purpose because they support that raggedy man. Okay? You know how the folks get. Okay? Never made sense to me. Y'all really need to look at what you're doing, especially you spiritual practitioners getting mad at each other and all that stuff. I would think that you would get together and come up with some kind of a ceremony, a ritual to do something with that raggedy stuff over there. You ain't got time to be fighting with each other. You need to be bringing nations and rituals and stuff together and coming up, working with some hot spirits or something to do something with this man. And you sitting up here focused on what each other doing, jealous of. If we ain't sick, that's why I have to show you that your mind's sick. Some of these practitioners, I think some of them sick in their mind. They don't know they sick. God, I ain't blaming them. They don't know. Okay, it don't make no sense. Some of them they go back and forth with each other. I just sit there and look. I said, now if they got all that power, why wouldn't they come together and try to do something with that? But that never enters a person's mind. In fact, you want to avoid that. You don't want to look at that. That's the shadow work that we have to do. We got to wonder why we stay so distracted and so divided and so critical of each other. We have to look at how our mind's so sick. Them folks, they don't all get along, but they get along to oppress us, don't they? They're going to agree to do that, ain't they? And some of them in different countries, and they doing the same thing to dark people abroad. They got the same idea to support each other in that idea. And here we can't agree. We can't agree about who was better, no limit or cash money, whoever. We stuck on that type of stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. Stuff that don't mount to a hill of beans. Think about it. We want to be entertained. We want to be distracted. I think we got too much fluoride in that water as they put it in the air or something. I don't know. Okay. But again, you ain't thinking right. Even the ones that say that they're conscious, I have to ask you, are you really conscious though? Because you too eager to do put curses on people and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay. You too eager to put curses on people and stuff like that. And you would think that you would be trying to come up with that some personal belongings of that man and do something with that man. You would think I should be seeing a whole bunch of hoodoo doll babies on that man on this thing. It should be a lot of them. I should see candles and petition candles burning on that man. I don't see none of that going on. Okay, that's what need to become. You want to do? You want to make a TikTok trend? Make that a TikTok trend. Y'all get together on October 31st when the veil is thin, calling your ancestors, burning candles on that man. Why don't you do that? I bet you won't do that. Do that. If you can't agree on nothing else, do that. Because the veil is thin and the ancestors is listening. This is a great time to do that type of work. And the mark is in, and the moon is in its dark phase. So you do what you will with that. But you making TikTok University and all this other stuff that don't mount to a hill of beans. And you did that, and them pale faced people, they come right on in there with that. Oh God, they get on my nerves. Some of them get on my nerves. They come right in there and destroy that for y'all. And then when it came into your TikTok university and disrespected you and told you didn't know what the hell you was talking about, try to rule your stuff, and you highly educated, you more educated than them. You know more about them than they know about themselves, but then they gonna tell you what you know. This is what you do. That's why I say I gotta get out of there. Can't be over there because you're not taking care of each other the way you should be. That's not what your ancestors wanted for you. Our ancestors didn't do that. They took care of each other. They had a community. Okay, you see that in Haiti. What did they do? They used their ancestors to get rid of them folks. Okay, they weren't passive about what was going on with them. They was very interactive in what was going on with them. You're gonna have to get like that. Okay, you don't see it, baby. It ain't your. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying it's your fault because again, when you're in survival mode like that, you can't think right. They know that. That's why they keep you in survival mode like that. But you're gonna have to slow down and think about it. Think about what you're doing. Okay, you're just gonna have to think about it. Especially y'all young practitioners out here trying to throw work at each other. That's just crazy. And if you that power, you that tough, and you got all these spirits. then we shouldn't have no problem. You shouldn't have no problem doing something with that man then. If you're that powerful and you got all these spirits and your magic this, that tough, and you can do witchcraft, do it on that damn man then. Do it on your oppressor. That's what your ancestors was doing. Think about it. And I'm not trying to fuss at you, but I want to bring it to your attention because I don't think you're thinking. Okay? I just don't think you thought about it. And why would you? Because you're in survival mode. But now that I done brought it to your attention, think about it, baby. Okay? Now I'm gonna change gears. I'm gonna get off my little soapbox. I'm gonna change gears here. And remember I told you that I was gonna come back and talk about Thai magic and Thai folk magic because it's so close to hoodoo. When I started looking at it, I said, "Oh my gosh, they're doing some of the things that we do in Thai magic." And I hope some of this come down, uh, go down a Thai person's timeline, and maybe they can chime in on it even more. But again, when you're looking at their folk religion, again, it's based in ancestral veneration. Okay. And I think that their practitioners are called frams. That's what they call their practitioners that practice folk magic. They call it fram. Okay. What else that would I find out? The Tai Aham call spirits. They call their spirits Tai Aham. And five spirits is particularly important. And spirits of wild places are to be avoided or barred from the village. Within Thai folk magic, deities are called five. These deities of Thai folk religion can also be ancestral spirits or other types of angels. So, it started looking like hoodoo a little bit when you go to looking at our stuff. And I remember the other day, they're doing something, but I don't speak the language. I need to take Thai. I wish I could speak their language because I would really probably gain more insight. But I have been walking down here uh, down this street here, and I've noticed many of them start picking leaves off this particular plant. I don't know what that plant is. And I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they picking leaves off that plant? I've seen by two or three of them stop at this plant and they will pick off like two or three leaves off that plant. But because I don't speak Thai, I didn't ask them what they was doing. But I definitely saw some of them picking leaves off this plant. And I don't know what the plant is. I need to ask about it. Okay. But however, I have not. They do have a place here. I think it's in Bangkok where they have a sort of a community where you can go learn Thai astrology, Thai tarot readings, mediumship. So they do have a metaphysical community here. However, I think it's in Bangkok. And then they have their own astrology as well. You'll see a lot of Hindu elements in Thai as well. Okay. And they are animists. Again, they believe in animism as well. So they believe in working with plants, animals, and herbs to get things done. So it's fascinating when you see that. And they think God are ever present everywhere, with some of them being associated with universal elements, just like us, with earth, fire, and water. Now, I saw some of this when I started looking at water spirits and looking at mermaids. You see that same story in Asia. When you're looking at the Nagas, you're kind of looking at some of those elemental spirits as well. I think that's very interesting when we start following some of these elements and looking at the folk magic abroad and among other cultures. You start seeing some similarities, especially when you start looking at Hinduism and how it got into conjure. I'm still fascinated by you guys. I can't stop talking about that. I'm just fascinated by it. Okay. And when I was talking to my guest, Efi West, and he was telling me how he got into Buddhism. That was one of the first spiritual practices that he got in when he left Christianity. And then he began to build on that and build on that. Now, what I'm noticing, I have to go back to Hoodoo because he now Ify West. Now you just sit down and talk to him. He studied all African spiritual systems. But when you're building your practice like that, and he is going into, again, we're looking at all different religions, and you start to work with some of these spirits, it started to feel like Obia because Obia does that. And so what Ife is done, it kind of put my path in another perspective when he was talking about how he gains his knowledge to learn more about Obia. So basically, and like I said, to study Obia, you have to study all the religions, all the occult, to be able to comprehend it. And like he and I agree on one, we agree on this. You are going to be following these spirits. They're going to be teaching you rituals. I know these people up here are showing you stuff. That is the ritual that was shown to them by that spirit. You got to get somewhere and sit down and let your spirits tell you how they want you to do rituals. You'll know if you're doing it right. It's going to be trial and error. That's just everybody's spiritual walk. Didn't nobody perfect their magic right off the top, so don't expect that for yourself. It is a science. You have to find out how those rituals are feeling for you when you start doing it. You'll know if a ritual or your work is going to be a successful because it's a sort of feeling that comes over you, a sensation that you feel. And so you're going to have to get used to that. It makes it a lot easier when you are in contact with your ancestors. But if you're doing something you saw somebody else do, you ain't ask for no spiritual guidance, you ain't ask your ancestors or nothing like that, then chances are it's going to fail because you so focused on the magic and power, you didn't skip the whole part of having the supportive spirit. You can have will all you want to. You can want it all you want to. But if you ain't got nothing helping you on the spiritual realm, ain't nothing gonna be shaking and moving. And you'll hear some of these I heard a Wiccan practitioner the other day talking about, I wasn't using no deity ancestor to do my magic. I just used my inner will. Well, that's a lie. That's a lie, because you picked up that candle in that fire. A spirit was helping you. You got water on that altar. Water spirits helping you. So stop saying stuff like that because you're not doing it by yourself. That's just a lie. You want to believe that if you want to. If you can do it by yourself, stop picking up stuff and just do it. Don't pick up no candle. Don't do just start talking. You don't need no elements or nothing like that. Okay. Don't pick that up because you're doing it by yourself, remember? You're doing it by yourself. You don't need no help at all. You doing it. This is your will. This is you playing with yourself. Because if you did not have those elements there helping you reach in the spiritual realm, you probably wouldn't be successful in the work. So stop playing with yourself. Any way you pick up something here, a fire, you working with spirit. It's just no way around it. You're doing something spiritual, so why wouldn't you be working with a spirit? Okay? So the most part, you're gonna have to learn to follow a spirit, beloved, and stop following these people. And I know it seems like they know what they talking about, and I know it sound good and it looks so pretty and all that. But people are flawed. It ain't their fault. They still wrestling with their ego and all this other stuff. But it is your responsibility to follow your ancestors, to follow a spirit. And they can give you some insight and share their experience with you to help you understand your spiritual path. But ultimately, you're gonna be following the spirit. And this is what people hung up in these initiations because you go in there, you want to follow a preacher, you want to follow a person, you think they, but ultimately, how you think them people learn? They follow the spirit. They had to listen to a spirit. And then you get up in some of that, they be gatekeeping. You're not growing. They not aligning you. And some of them know that you got a spiritual anointing on you, and they will hold you back just so you can't make progress or bypass them. That's what happens when you go to following people because people are flawed. And then you think just because they're initiated that experience. And I'm glad Effie West broke that down for you. And I'm going to say this again. I think I said it in my community. I'm going to say it again. Go back and watch that video. He said, this is what he said now. Initiation, when they're initiating, it's just like them paying a tuition to college to learn. They don't know anything. They're paying for the knowledge. So they can say, oh, I got initiated. You're just saying you just signed up to a new university. This is how Effie West explained it. You just entered a new university. So if you're a freshman in college, you don't know that much, do you? But they leave there instantly trying to teach you things, or they're trying to initiate you and they can't break it down because they just got initiated. They don't know anything. They're learning just like you. It don't align you with those spirits. It gets you into the IFA school, the theology school to learn. And then as you go on, you pay for these rituals again, like you would do in a college. You pay for these workshops or whatever. Again, these rituals to learn more because they're gonna be charging you, baby. You're gonna pay for that if they're gonna teach you. So know what you're doing when you're getting over there. So these people that's saying that they're initiated, you don't see a lot of them come in here kind of break down the science of IFA, do you? They're not gonna break that down because 9 times out of 10 they don't know it. They still learning it, but they're trying to initiate you into it. You're not gonna see many that come in here and break that down as a science, especially when it comes to the rituals and aligning you with these spirits. They're not gonna break that down. Should be able to. I recommend they do it because it'll stop a lot of the vagueness and confusion, and people get over there and they didn't realize it was like that because you're presenting in another way. And you're gonna have to follow a lot of ceremonial magic. They do a lot of ceremonial magic, and if you want something done, they got to do it for you. That's what you're getting yourself into. And now I'm not knocking it. It does have its place, but you need to be fully. You need to fully understand what you're asking. And then you're saying too, a lot of you want to say, oh, I want to get in this religion because I want power. I want to work with the most powerful ancestors. Are you ready to get rid of, leave the physical realm and serve spirits only? You ain't gonna have no friends. Your spirit's gonna be your friend. Spiritual people don't have a lot of friends because why? They know, they can't really trust people. Spirits are honest. You're not going to be around people a lot if you want to have all this power with spirits. You're going to be spending as less time with people as possible. And it ain't going to be about no money. You're going to have some discipline, some commitment, and some order. Really, really think about what you're asking for. You don't put no thought. You just thinking about the power, the power, the power, the power. Yeah, that's all you thinking about. And you think it's going to be about money. No, no. Them spirits don't care nothing about that. They'll help you. It's not a guarantee they're gonna make you rich. Their job is to evolve your soul and your spirit and to use you to help your community. That's it. So be careful what you ask for. You understand it. This ain't nothing like Disney World or whatever. Don't care what them people told you. Nigga say I want to heal and heal. That is the best. Uh, I think that is the best frame of mind to have when you get on this journey because that you can heal. It will heal you. That should be the goal is to heal. But if you think you finna come up here, cause some of y'all you take advantage of the spiritual science now by cursing folks and everything. I don't know even want to imagine what you'll do if you really did have the power. And some of them spirits know that, and they know where in the hell they'll work with you like that because they watching you. You can trick people, but I'm telling you right now, that's why it ain't no initiation in hoodoo, because it's certain thing them ancestors is not gonna let you do if you ain't right. If that frequency ain't right, they ain't gonna show you nothing. They ain't gonna tell you nothing. You ask all you want to, your little mind ain't gonna be able to comprehend it. You're not gonna get that download. They're not gonna tell you anything because you have not done the work. And even if somebody showed you, you ain't gonna understand because they ain't open up that part of your mind yet. First person in my family to go this path, and I've lost everything. You're gonna be with people no more. And like Enigma said, you might lose everything in such a way, but are you really losing things or are you seeing things for the first time? You got to shift your perspective. Sometimes they do that to shift your perspective. Okay, so you don't know what you're asking for. You really don't. You think you're getting over there, and a lot of people jumping over there for power. That's not what you're gonna get. These spirits, even then, them spirits are gonna be watching you. It's some people that's initiated, but because they're not following the regulations of the religion in serving these deities, their life is all raggedy because now they have gotten into agreement or a pact with these deities, and they're not able to fulfill part of their contract because they can't afford it. They can't afford all the rituals, the Ebo, and all that stuff. They can't afford that. They don't know that till they get over there. So you'll see some of them like that. Okay. Is Are they all like that? No, there are some that's some good godparents out there. There's some healthy houses out there, but they not that many. Okay, you hear the stories here. You hear all these stories of people going to that, and it's just a whole bunch of rigmarole. How does someone find a God in hoodoo? That a lot of people say that go to the church, find the elder, but the thing about that is that the elders didn't call this hoodoo, so you can't go to them. A lot of them, they're not calling it hoodoo; they're calling it something else. There's a communication gap there, so a lot of them didn't call it that. They do have some spiritualist churches around America, uh, and some metaphysical churches. If you can find you a spiritualist churches, because most of them are going to be hoodoo conjure churches, you can do that. Maybe you can find a Catholic church where there's some black Catholics in there or Latina Catholics in there because most of them are conjuring in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church never stopped conjuring. They never stopped doing hoodoo. There's hoodoo all up in the Catholic Church. That's why I don't see why the Christians want to put their mouth on somebody. And y'all sit up there, them folks is up there conjuring in the church. You ain't saying nothing to them. You ain't saying none of them. They calling on saints, praying with saints, conjuring in the church and all that. You ain't saying none of them. And some of us work with saints too. So you can find out that way. But even for the most part, and I have to say this again, even when you're following one of those hoodoo practitioners, it's still only so much they're going to show you, and the spirit is still going to lead you to do certain things. It's just like that. And that's how you should want it to be. You shouldn't want anybody having to depend on somebody to teach you something because you did that with your preacher, and where did it get you? You did that with your preacher, and where did it get you? We're so stuck to want to hold on to somebody, and they're scared to follow something that you can't see. But you was why when you not, you have to get that through your mind. You're going to be following the spirit because most of the people that we're going over their books and things like this, some of them they learn from the family, but a lot of them were guided by spirits to do, put their rituals together and to do work. And that is the best way to do your work. Now you can have some practitioners show you. You might get you a hoodoo practitioner over there that show you, but they're gonna do everything from a Christian perspective. Is that what you want? Because you got some of these hoodoo practitioners, they have associated hoodoo with Christianity. And hoodoo ain't Christian. It's a spiritual science. It's a spiritual system. It's not Christian. And you even got some hoodoo practitioners is presenting hoodoo like it's Christian, and it's not. So you probably want to be, and then they're not calling it. You have people in church, they're not calling it hoodoo, and they would take it as an insult um, if you came to them like that. So again, you really want to put thought into your practitioner and make sure you vibe with them, and that you're going to be able to learn from them, because there has to be some type of respect in a relationship, and there has to be, you guys have to vibe on a certain frequency for it to work, for them to mentor you. Because I don't want nobody mentoring me that's mentoring me from Christian theology. No, I don't want, because we already know. Look, I want you teaching me like that. It's not how I want to learn. It's just backward. It's backwards for me to learn that way, rather than learning from somebody who is taking it and putting our ancestral power into it and knowledge, and not, infusing it with making it Christian, making it religious. Because hoodoo is not religious, and they feel comfortable making it that way. Okay, a lot of them people, they feel more because, again, I just feel like they want to be closer to Christianity because that feels safer for them. But that's that, our ancestors was doing hoodoo without a Bible. Magic was already in them. Again, I have to explain this again. They gave the words in that Bible. They gave it power through the magic that was already in them. Somebody was trying to use it against them, and they had to flip the script. So you kind of want to be careful too with who mentoring you. Uh, are they more spiritual in their hoodoo, or are they more religious with their hoodoo? That matters. To me, it matters. So you probably want to look at that. Okay? You probably want to look at that. And I'm always taken back when I see people that want to teach hoodoo and they're Christians. I'm just taken back by that. I'm just like, what? What? I'm kind of taken back by that. I'm just taken back by it when they tell me that they're Christians, uh, and they practice hoodoo, and that's something I have to work on, because there's some distrust there when I see them doing that. Okay, that's just me, and some people are very comfortable with it. They don't have a problem with it at all. Okay, and so again, they have Thai have necromancy in their practice as well, because again, they're talking to the deceased loved ones. Uh, They're talking to their ancestors, and they are also dealing with the same kind of elements that we have as well over here. So it's just a very interesting parallels between them and us. I just like the comparison, you guys. I'm just nerdy like that. Okay. So again, they do ancestral veneration. So do we. They use they focus on love, prosperity, rituals, and things like that in their work as well. Okay, it's something when you start looking at the similarities in a lot of these folk magic, and across the board, especially if you look at our ancestral practices among diaspora. Hoodoo starts to make a lot of sense, and it starts to tell us how much, how many of those elements are in hoodoo. I don't follow any other Abrahamic religion. Africa had spiritual practice hundreds of thousands of years ago. Yeah, that's true. Uh, but another misconception too, I had to talk about that in my lecture over there. And I guess I'm gonna talk about it now before I end this live stream because we talked about Thai. We've already covered the general similarities between Thai and Hoodoo. But the thing that I want to keep in mind, for people to keep in mind, especially when we're talking about African America, and a lot of us think that we have to go to Africa to be initiated into the ATRs. And this is what I have to say about this. And I think it's another practitioner that talked about it too. There already was a form of voodoo in the Americas. So you're thinking, and I think because the most important thing about these ancestral practices when you're getting initiated, you have to keep in mind that you already have ancestors in America, and these are ancestral spiritual practices. And so when we're, you know, it wouldn't be very wise. You got to keep this in mind. It wouldn't be very wise to go get a line yourself on another country. You don't even know those ancestors on that land like that. And you have to consider the fact too that your ancestors was already in America, but they became one nation again when Hoodoo was put together. So now again you are linked to the ancestors on the American land. Now a good I forgot her name, Mambo Monique, I forgot her name. That's why there is a difference between African voodoo and Haiti voodoo. Okay? There's a difference between Haiti voodoo and New Orleans voodoo. All indigenous people had their own voodoo spiritual practices because it's ancestral and it's falling under the term of the umbrella term of voodoo because it's ancestral. Even when you go look at some of the Orisha spiritual practices, they're different. The practices in America are going to be different from the ones in Africa because these are different ancestors. The jury is still out on that because the ancestors keep telling me, well, you know, the Orisha was already in the Americas too, and I'm like, what? Yeah, it was still there. It was there. It was there. That's what they tell me. It was already there. Okay, and I don't know what this thing is with Africa. I think they got everything coming from Africa. Again, I think there's some more type of brainwashing stuff that's going on over there, just like that out of Africa theory. We know that's not true because we see melanated people all over the globe, so we know everybody didn't come from Africa. That don't even make no sense. That theory don't hold water. We have monuments in America. I will keep saying this because there's so many misconceptions, and I also see it in some books as well because this out of Africa theory has been promoted so strongly and they are not showing you ancient America. And the only time they're talking about ancient America through these made up names like the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incans, they're showing you that. And so you're thinking it's not connected with America, but those places are in America. You had kingdoms, black nations in America that were kings, queens, and everything. A pre-Columbian civilization was there. They told you them people disappeared, but they did not disappear. You already see what's going on in that Grand Canyon, and you see what's going on with Arizona when you see those comedic artifacts. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, and I know you said, Miss Penny, that's crazy. There's no way in the world. It's the truth, baby. It is the truth. And so, really think about when you're getting initiated, to think about those ancestors that's on that land because that matters. We've always respected our indigenous ancestors. They are the ones that help us in the practice. I'm not saying we ain't kinship with those people, but again, it makes a difference where you're at when you're getting initiated. It really does. Okay, it really does. Again, because you want to be interfacing with your ancestors on that land. It's just disrespectful to go, somewhere else and be initiated when you got ancestors right there on that land. They've already developed the spiritual practice for you. Voodoo was already there in the Americas. All indigenous cultures have their form of voodoo. That's why when they looked at us in the indigenous culture, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, they doing that voodoo because they know it's ancestral. Okay, so really sit down and think about it. Okay, they already had that spiritual system, but when you start to see some of the Orisha spiritual practice abroad, and then start looking at the voodoo practices abroad, you'll start seeing that. I had somebody to say, "What's the difference between voodoo and hoodoo?" Not much difference. I know what they're telling you, it's a religion and all that. That's political stuff that they're trying to say. That is a political. We're talking about the spiritual practice. Our ancestors was not religion. If you grew up venerating your ancestors, they wouldn't even be talking about religion. That'd just be what it is. You venerate your ancestors, ancestral spiritual practice. The religion is a response to uh to racism. It's a political because they told you have to have a religion. You have to be like them. You have to have a legit religion to get all the benefits that they're getting with their Christian stuff. So they told you have to have a religion. And then you came up with initiation, you know. But if you were born in it, you wouldn't be going through none of that stuff. Wouldn't be no initiation, wouldn't be none of that. You just be your folks, you just be in voodoo or whatever. Okay? But that stuff was all it was it, the things were already set up for us. So really think about before you start running somewhere else, getting initiated somewhere. Is it on your home, on your land? Do these people actually know what they're talking about? Because at some point, even when you get initiated, they need to get you used to communicating with these spirits, not gatekeeping you. Okay, that's important. You need to learn how to, and I know you want to follow people, and then they're thoroughly convinced that you ain't gonna learn it in no book. You're gonna have to learn. They trying to get you to depend on them. And then when you get over there, they tell you ain't gonna learn that book, but guess what they're gonna give you? A damn book. It's a book you're gonna have to read to understand their religion. They're gonna give you books to read. You're gonna have to sit down and read something to get your mind together. I heard a lot of practitioners say that you're only saying that because if they was to sit down and really look at the occult books and start to familiarize themselves with the spiritual science, they wouldn't need you no more because they'll be following the spirit. Some of them are telling you that because of that. Okay, because if you ain't following them, there ain't no money in their pocket. You following the spirit. And that's exactly what I teach you over there in our community. I don't want you following me. I give you information and resources so you can learn to follow your ancestors. That's what needs to happen. You need to learn how to work with spirit. That's what's going on there. You don't know how to work with a spirit. You don't know how a spirit communicate with you. Okay? You don't know that. And so then we over there we provide I provide you with all the information to get familiar with that. And if you want to share an experience with me, then you can share an experience with me. If I see something off in what you're telling me, then I'll go ahead and chime in. Okay, I'm just again, I'm just a mentor, listening, supporting you, empowering you on your journey, giving you the faith and confidence uh, to believe in your own path, and that's what needs to happen. You need to believe and know in your own path that it's already in you, and a lot of us are not getting that type of support. I hope that made sense. Does anyone have questions? Anyone have any questions they want to ask me before I end the live stream? Anything about what we talked about with Thai folk magic being very similar to our folk magic? And again, we got a hot topic coming up tomorrow. I don't like to do it. Some of y'all gonna get mad at me, gonna get upset with me, but I'm gonna dismantle all this confusion about twin flames. You know, our ancestors never talked about no twin. This is a new age concept, and then they took it out of context when they gave it to you because that's not how that's supposed to be understood. But we'll definitely talk about that tomorrow. Okay, any questions? Any questions about candle magic? I know a lot of y'all doing candle magic. Do you understand what you're working with? After a strength say, I can't wait. Yeah, I got to dismantle that because I've had so many women that come to me, and it's usually women. I hardly ever get men that's drunk off that twin flame concept, but I get a lot of women that's drunk off that twin flame concept. I mean, they follow it so closely, and I have to dismantle it and tell them, did you ever hear your ancestors say anything about twin flame? I ain't never heard them say that. Good evening, by the way, YouTube. How can we join your community? It's in my link in my bio. Link tree is on Patreon, Spiritual Roots Hoodoo Community. If you're looking for astro reading, those are $15. That's when I break your chart down. Hoodoo style, give you root work and all that stuff to do, getting you in alignment with what you came here with, your magic you already came here with. Um and getting you in alignment with your ancestors to start getting you. It's just a really good way to see where you need to do your work, what you came here with, what shadow work you need to do. So I think it's an awesome way to give you a jump start on what you need to be working with because your natal chart is the root work you came here to do. It is a map of your soul, of the soul work you came here to do. So if you're interested in our astro reading, again, you can DM me. I need your time, your date, your place of birth. If you're on TikTok, please give me your email address, and I can get you out an invoice when that's completed. Uh, then I'll get started on your chart. But again, if you're on TikTok and you're wanting the astro reading, I will need your time, your date, your place of birth, and your email address. I've just put my email address in the chat here on TikTok if that's something that you're interested in. So if you're confused and say, Miss Penny, I don't know where to start, honey. I don't even know where to start. Well, let's start with your natal chart and see what's in there. Let's see what type of elemental magic that you're supposed to be working with. Water spirit, fire spirits, air spirits. Who are your spiritual allies? Do you have some mermaid water spirits in your astrological chart? Is Papa Legba in there? Again, is you have your paternal ancestors in there? Is it maternal ancestors in there? Do you have a mother wound or a father wound you need to work on? So the chart, a lot of people say, oh, it's not, yeah, it's not right. You can't believe in that. But I find that the chart is usually 80 to 90% right. What if we don't know the time I born? You can just give me the best estimate. Were you born in the morning, the evening, afternoon, evening, late evening, night? Those help if you can pin that down. Okay, you can pin that down. Money jar magic. Is there a right way to do it? Do I need to put my nails or hair inside to mix it? What if? Okay, you're welcome, Cassandra. Okay, she asked me. We just did some. We just talked about container magic as well. My thing is, you asking me about that, baby. Okay. Do you know about Toltec astrology or the Toltec civilization? I have did a lot of rituals down at the Toltec mounds. I have talked with those ancestors there. So I've did some rituals there on the ley line there at Toltec mounds. Not sure about that Toltec astrology. Are you talking about Mayan astrology? Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because that's a whole different sort of astrology. But yeah, I do know about the Toltec civilization. I had someone from Florida. I show this again. I had someone from Florida bring me a Toltec dagger when I was doing work down there. This is a Toltec obsidian dagger. When I first started working with ancestors, I didn't know what was going on with me. I felt like a shaman. Wasn't sure about that. Lady came from Florida, didn't know that woman from a can of paint, and she gave me this. And she said she got it from a shaman, and she felt like the man had passed away. She felt like he was still with her when she bought me this Toltec dagger. So yeah, I do know about Toltec. Not sure about the astrology thing. I'm gonna look that up. Okay. But I have worked with those ancestors before. Those the first ancestors I started working with. Okay, somebody that baby asked me something. She said money jar. Okay, the money jar. Now the thing with this stuff, when you start doing this work, did you ask your ancestors if that's what you should be doing? Because that that matters. Okay. And once you do the magic, see, I don't like sharing stuff like this. Uh, that stuff like this because when you don't understand the elements of magic, it's hard for you to get hard for you to understand. Did you activate the jar? Are you talking to the jar? Are you feeding the jar? Yeah, that matters because now that jar is a spirit. What are you feeding the jar? Did you put your petition into the jar? Did you put a petition in there? And are you going to it talking to it? Are you working it? Did you burn a candle on it and put intentions on it before you start working with the jar? Start it over if you need to. Okay, but you should be talking to that jar. You should be working to that jar, feeding that jar. And anytime I'm doing container magic like that in the first place, I'm gonna work it like a mojo bag. That's why you'll see people when they got a honey jar or something. What they're gonna be? They're gonna be shaking that jar, talking to that jar, telling that jar what to do. And what is that doing? The energy of the shaking is causing it to move. The energy, because it never energy never dies, it transforms. So when you're shaking it, you're transforming that energy into that jar, moving that spirit along. So what are you doing? How you working with your jar? Is you feeding your jar? Is you working with your jar? Is you talking to your jar? Did you put your petition in there? It's so many factors that go into that. Did your ancestors tell you to do it that way? Again, when you mess with me, I'm gonna do a total assessment of you. Somebody got in my box the other day and started asking me some questions and stuff was going on with them. So, girl, I just started. Okay. Again, are you doing ancestral veneration? Is that what they told you to do? I can't tell you how far your work gonna go. They have me doing a number of things. They shouldn't have you doing a number of things. You should only be doing ancestral veneration, shadow work, and they should have you doing simple magic because they're not gonna start you, and it's gonna work. Okay. As you go on, your work will get more complex as you get more advanced, but it should be something very, very simple. Okay. You shouldn't be doing, and if you're doing in a lot of things, the most things they probably can have you doing is getting in alignment and giving you spiritual baths and things like that. But it's going to be very, very simple. They won't have you doing complex magic you can't understand. And are you working with it? Again, ask them if you feel like if you just pay attention and sit down enough and to listen and stop listening to people. Stop. You see, you come here and ask me that. I really don't like you ask me that because if you got somewhere and sat down somewhere and talked to your ancestors that had told you that, and that's probably a part of the problem. Okay. Where's the holy water coming from? I don't know where that holy water coming from. Okay, I answered that question. So again, when you're working with these things like that, uh, uh put some uh put some thought into it, because if they want you doing something and you're creating something, especially with these jars and containers like that, and you want it to work, well, how are you going to move the energy along? So when you start working with jars and containers and things like that, and at some point too, if and I'm gonna say this, if it starts to act like, if you're working with a container, you're doing jar magic, and it starts to act like it's not as effective as it used to be, more than likely you need to recharge it and burn another candle on top of it. That's how you recharge it, refeed it. Or think about, uh, if you're not doing that, what are you going to feed it in between times? Because it's a spirit now, it's alive. It's got to keep working for you. Okay? You don't just sit it up there and just let it sit. We don't do that. We get it to moving. You want it to get it to moving. Okay? That's why you'll see people that if they're working with a jar, or they're working with a container, they're going to pick that thing up and start working it some type of way, or they're going to be feeding it or burning a candle on it. So really put thought into it. Okay. Can animals be connected to ancestors? Yep, absolutely. Okay. Ancestors are around us, within us, and they are in nature as well. So absolutely, it's totally possible. This hotel. You're welcome. Okay. So make sure that you're getting guidance on your work. And then if you're first starting out, I would recommend picking up hoodoo without ancestor veneration. You just crossing yourself up like that. You can't ask them. If you ask them about the work that you want to do, you'll have better results. But if you out here trying to go renegade like that, then I don't know how that's gonna turn out for you. It's just better if you have the ancestors to clear the way and help you with your magic than you trying to do everything alone. It's just you're just setting yourself up to be confused like that. Okay. And if somebody else is, thank you, money beauty wellness. And if you're following, and I know you want to learn, but the only way you're gonna learn is you stop following people and put your face in the book. Because you got to get your mind going, and need to wake up those ancestors in your mind and start asking yourself questions, because the answers in there, instead of asking other people. Because if you sit down long enough and get somewhere and be quiet, your answers will start coming forward. But if you steady looking outside yourself for the answers, then you're gonna be bamboozled all the time. You're gonna be exploited every time, because the answers are not always outside with people. The answers are inside you. But you won't sit down somewhere and sit down and be quiet, because that's how your ancestors do it. They have you sitting down being quiet, not running your mouth. Okay, you won't be running out here following people, asking people, because the answer's in you. But you have to sit down and start asking yourself questions. Well, how do I do this? And before you know it, all these inspirational thoughts and stuff will start coming up on how to do things. It's them, it's right. And don't be asking nobody else, is it right? It don't have to make sense to nobody else. It don't have to make sense to you and your ancestors. That's it. And you ask somebody else how you should do something, and your ancestors probably don't want you doing that. That's probably not even in your chart. You probably supposed to be working with water. You probably supposed to be working with dirt. You probably supposed to be working with fire. But you too busy trying to be like everybody else and do like they do. You don't know where your magic is. Because you won't sit down nowhere and be quiet, a lot of us. I get it. You want to learn, but the only way you're going to learn is to go within and start communicating with your ancestors. That's it. And you get over there with me. I'm gonna keep that in your mind. Don't stop following people, because that's what got you confused right now, baby. You just follow your ancestors and unlock that magic that's inside you. It's already in you. Ain't nobody better than you. Don't nobody know more than you. We all learning too. We have just learned how to integrate it, and you're gonna have to do the same thing. And so, getting you to understand that nobody is better than you, the magic inside you, get you moving, looking on the inside you to unlocking your magic. That's when you get stronger and you get grounded in your practice, and that's what needs to happen. Okay. And so, if you're interested in our community, again, the link is in our bio. We have several different membership uh, tiers, as low as $5 on up to $33. All of it is reasonable. Everything over there is quality materials. If I'm going to give you a book, I'm going to give you if I'm going to give you a book, I'm going to give you a lecture and an article on it so you can fully comprehend what you're getting and what you should be looking at in the book. Is if you can't I just feel like you can't get it wrong over there because there's too many resources. It's just too many resources, and we break it down so simply, uh, to help you understand and comprehend it. And then I talk about the subject maybe two or three times to help you understand it. And you might get four or five resources on one thing. So just really helping you comprehend it. And we talk about, you're welcome, uh, California Forever 444. We talk about hoodoo from top to bottom, from back to front. We talk about the signs. No, I'm not gonna show you no spell because that's not helping you because you don't even understand how they work. You need to understand the science of hoodoo. And then when you understand science of hoodoo, you got all the resources there, the books that are giving you structure on how to put your work together. Then you can ask your ancestors to start helping you craft your work because it's your own creativity. I don't know how you're gonna express yourself in your magic, because magic is a form of creativity and expression. And the longer that you do it, the better you are at it. It's just like when you first start coloring. Remember when you first start coloring and you used to color outside the lines, you couldn't keep it inside the lines. That was the hardest thing. Like I can't stop getting that. And then as you begin to color more and more, you start keeping it in the line, and then your color, your creativity, your coloring got better and better and better for some of us. Okay, it's the same thing. Definitely a lot of resources. I loving it. Done and got bit behind because of my sick grandbaby. Take your time, beloved. Take your time over there. It's no rush. We're about to slow down probably around Christmas. I'm gonna slow it on down and give you guys time enough to digest the information. Okay, so we'll probably take a sabbatical break probably around December. Okay. But take your time with it. It's no rush because it take about a year or so to integrate hoodoo into your life because it's a way of life. It's nothing we pick up just to practice magic. It's a way of life. It's about being in alignment. That's why some of your work don't work and some of it do work because you got blocks. You need to do shadow work. You need to heal. You got wounds on top of it. You can't do the work if you're not on the right frequency. You're not in alignment with it. It ain't gonna work. Okay, so that's important. All right, you guys. I don't think there's any more questions here. I don't see any more questions here. But if you need me, you know what to do. And we'll be back here tomorrow. You're not gonna want to miss this one because we're gonna break down that twin flame thing. I gotta people this because some of them caught up in this raggedy stuff, and that ain't got nothing to do with you and your ancestors. Them folks made that stuff up, and I'm gonna show it to you. We'll break it down. We're gonna have a discussion about it, and so you won't be confused about it. You'll know what it is when they start talking about it. It ain't got nothing to do with you. They mean something totally different. Okay. So we'll come back here tomorrow and talk about it. Okay. Love you guys. You guys take care.